Better leave it to the professionals.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been golden when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the blockchain.
Now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Reviews not falling for the FOMO. Listening to Coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum NFTs. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, he'll set it up.
Freaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in shoes. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, mighty, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. Had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. Had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the drive with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain GM. Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't already done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below. Then head up top and smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. We greatly appreciate it. Warms up the algo, lets everyone know we're here, and does us a solid. As always, I'm Cap, my co-host Steve. Never any financial advice on the show. Crypto is risky, NFTs are risky, meme coins exception risky. Go to 0 to moment's notice. Please don't put any money in you can't afford to lose, and know that Steve and I likely hold tokens we talk about from time to time here on the show. We are not financial advisors, certainly not your financial advisors. Just join us for some fun, some information, and education along the way. GM, Steve, how you doing, sir?
GM, doing all right. Slower week, I think. Market's kind of flat. Obviously, a lot going on in the macroeconomic, but good news that we don't have markets absolutely diving downwards. GM to all the YouTube chatters out there. Appreciate you, RDL, Thomas, Riz Brian, Diabolito, Machiavelli, Meshmash, people over in the abstract chat. We got Teacher Katie, we got Green Edge, Meshmash, Mado, Dwayne over there, Rare Ed, always. A lot of people on all three chats, which we very much appreciate. GM over to obviously the space. Give us a like, a retweet, a comment, a bookmark. You don't check your bookmarks anyway, and it does us a huge favor. OC, Chief, Mel, Clay, OKC, probably, I don't think there's a good chance they take it home tonight. Who knows? Opportunist, Aspiring Nobody, Dobbins, Diablito, Kazi, Dwayne, Beanie McFly, General Wags, Dunked Cookie, Boo with the cat gif looking out the window with the coffee. Floor Slime been showing up heavy lately. Appreciate it. Paying close attention to the chat. We appreciate that. Man, just getting by. doing my usual farming activities, another OpenSea token swap today. These don't bother me. I know they bother you a little more, but it's I just used to swap over to Kaido and stake a little bit more Kaido, or swap over to Rect, or whatever I'm looking to dollar cost average at that point. So been using it for that capacity, and hopefully it helps pay off in the end. If nothing else, it's giving me a little more platform use. So
I lost you. Hold up. That was a quick one this morning. Quick one. No idea why I cut out that early. Check now.
I don't know. Can people hear me in the different chats? Can people hear me on the space? All right, cool.
Yeah.
No, just I was saying, like, waking up, doing my farming. OpenSea's been going heavy on the token swaps lately. I know you're not a fan. I like it. I'm just swapping into Kaido. It's giving me a reason to swap a little bit into Kaido each and every day. So when they do it, been doing that quite a bit. But nah, man, just like kind of a slower market day. Not quite as much. I know we have a couple of things going on today. What about you?
Picking up, if anyone's holding any Genesis keys from Mintify, the Hyperliquid claim ends at about 53 minutes. So make sure you go get your claims. They're free. And
where do you claim? Because I have those keys, but I didn't know. Usually they had been dropped.
I'll drop the link in the chat. You got to go claim them. It's free. There's $1 platform fee, and it's 1-to-1, and then first come first serve starts in 53 minutes. I'll drop the link here in the chat.
Yeah, it's they have it on their X. I wouldn't have known. I'm glad you said something. Although it says I am not eligible, and I definitely have Genesis keys, so that's bizarre.
Connect to the right wallet.
It should be. I don't know. We'll check. We'll check. We'll do a little checking. But yeah, man. Other than that, yeah, like you're claiming the Mintify Genesis keys. I'm trying to log in and do that now.
Links up top. Anyone else is looking for it.
There we go. We got our claim. It only says mint 1 for free. Although I thought
you just change the number. Like it should above it. It should say max per wallet, and there it would show just whatever that max per wallet is. Type that in, and you get them all for free.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't what do you mean? Oh, I don't have enough hype. See, this is like the perils of NFTs in general. It's like I'm probably not going to end up claiming my keys because like I have not gotten involved in the hype ecosystem. I know Phonics had told me to early on. It was a pain in the ass. There was all these different things. I needed to use VPN, so I haven't done it. I have 0 hype in my wallet. And now to claim the keys, I need to have whatever it is, like, 5 like a cent in hype, and I don't have it. And I wish that MetaMask would just let me automatically swap in some way, because like now it's like, well, I could do the research again on how to get into hype, because I know that was a pain in the ass last time, and I'd use like VPNs and stuff, or I can just let the keys slide. So I don't know. I've been wanting to get involved in the Hyperliquid, but like the hoops we have to jump through sometimes. I get it. It's part of being early. It's part of like tech diffusion. It's just, I don't know. I don't, yeah, like I can't, like I went to go like add hype.
You can change. Mintify now, like if you look down right below where it says mint, I'll just do a screen share here so you can see. This coming through?
Yeah.
So right by default, it's hype on Hyper EVM. You can change this and choose. I don't know if this is a pop-up show.
Yeah.
Okay. So you just go change. You can pay whatever currency, whatever chain you want.
All right. Excellent. ETH on Hyper EVM. Let's see if I can do that and approve the swap. Yeah. So we'll give that a try. It's just it's more so. Nope, it does not work. When I change it to ETH on Hyper EVM, it says you do not have enough hype.
You probably don't have any ETH on Hyper EVM. Put it
no.
ETH on Ethereum.
Okay. This is again, it's not a Mintify thing. It's a
Mintify's like, I mean, this is actually they're making it a lot easier. Like you don't have to bridge, you don't have to do any of the stuff that is a challenge for, or it takes a few extra steps. Mintify has made it simple by you just gotta wherever you have funds, just choose that wallet and you can mint it.
I don't think, did you do it this way? Because it's not working for me. I'm trying to use ETH on base and it says no. So
I just did ETH on Ethereum is how I paid for it.
All right. Well, I'll give it a try, but it's it is wholly not working for me, error processing requests. So it's not about Mintify. It's more just about people are like, why aren't you on Hype? Why aren't you on Hype? You should get involved in Hype. It's like, because like I immediately go to the site and it's like, you're in a jurisdiction that can't use Hype. And then you have to like VPN something. And then once you VPN, you have to do these swaps and people can't figure out how to move money around. It's confusing, man. And I get it. Like, I understand like people are, printing over there. It's just, this is not like, as somebody who is a fan of, getting this to the masses, it doesn't do it for me sometimes with like the amount of things we have to cocktail together. Cool. Now I just get error processing order now. Either way, it's fine. I don't need the keys, I guess. We let it ride. But what is on your tick list today, Cap?
Like you said, kind of a slow news day. I mean, honestly, what caught my attention was not Web3 or crypto related. So maybe, I know we got Bunchu coming up here in a little bit, and then we got a fun guest joining us at 9:30. But my news this morning was two things. One, Sophie Cunningham is a dog, and I am officially a Fever fan. The Indiana Fever are America's team, and I'm here for it. I would see myself watching a Fever game before an NBA game at this point. Like, it's fun. Caitlin Clark is the real deal. And it's just, they haven't been protecting her. The league is, for whatever reason, let people roughen her around, and Sophie stepped up. So yeah, she's got that dog in her for sure. Big fan. I think her jersey sold out last night too, and she's gonna have a moment. I'm not even joking, not even exaggerating. Like, the star power in the WNBA is real, and I think they are set up very well to have just their trajectory looks really incredible over the next decade or so. And then the other thing that my timeline was filled of was Ted Cruz getting eviscerated by Tucker Carlson. I have near zero desire to watch either of those two individuals speak. It's just not something that interests me, but I will actually watch probably the entire interview today. The clips are interesting, to say the least. But yeah, other than two, I guess the Ted Cruz thing is maybe adjacent to crypto in the sense that sitting senator and Genius Act did pass. Trump put out a very excited tweet about that and said, get it passed, get it to my desk ASAP. So other than political stuff and WNBA, that was the main stuff that hit my feed over last night and this morning, Steve.
Yeah, no, it's I saw that was a few days ago that the Caitlin Clark thing. No,
last night. Sophie. I thought it was last night. The game last night. No.
Well, it was. Are you talking about when she got like pushed and the other person knocked her on the ground, and then Sophie went and hard fouled the lady under the hoop who was a little tough with her? And yeah, I think it was like 2 or 3 nights ago. But it's good to see. It's go be her Charles Oakley, right?
It was Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a couple nights ago, but it was it's I think WNBA has definitely got some star power. I'm still not scheduling or looking games. I think people want to watch Caitlin Clark. I don't think they want to watch WNBA. Like, I think a random, if I said to most people name 5 WNBA teams, they'd be like, all right, there's a Fever and there's Chicago Sky, I think, which is where Angel Reese plays. And then I think they run out. The Cleveland Rockers used to exist. They don't anymore. So I think we run out. So I don't think I think it's exciting to see, see the excitement around Caitlin Clark. I think it grows the game a little bit, but yeah, I think the WNBA does a pretty poor job. I don't know. A lot of these brands do a pretty poor job with this whole, pretty poor job. Like, I mean, I think the NBA doesn't do a great job with their superstars anymore. I don't think the NFL does a great job. I think the NFL probably does the best job with their superstars. Baseball is horrific on it. So yeah. So I don't know.
I agree. What I'm saying though is I think the WNBA is doing a far better job of highlighting their stars than the NBA is.
You think the WNBA is
storyline around? Like, I started someone's theory, like the whole, like, it's all with intent. Like, Caitlin Clark's in on it because it's like, maybe, I don't know, but I don't ever, like, I know part of it is just the Caitlin effect, but I
think that's all of it. Like, honestly, like, I don't think like
started it, but I see far more of it this year than I did in her rookie season. And it's not just Caitlin. What I see popping on my timeline now is like Sophie was all over my timeline. Granted, I know it's her teammate. I just they're highlighting more of the characters, of the personalities than just the game itself. Some people may not like that, but I think it works.
I don't think they're highlighting it though. I think like people are just catching on to it because there's Caitlin Clark mania. Like if I said don't look, name 5 NBA stars or WNBA stars right now, you'd be like, all right, Caitlin Clark. I know who Sophie Cunningham is, not necessarily a star, but she's on the team. Angel Reese, Aja Wilson. Like it's like hard to like Asia Wilson. I don't know. It's like hard to like Brianna Stewart maybe. So maybe I got 5. I think it's just I think it's like it's there is excitement around Caitlin Clark and there's excitement around what's going on. I'm just not sure that the WNBA is necessarily marketing masters as much as they got Caitlin Clark kind of fell into their lap. She's a generational talent, but I don't think people are watching like the Valkyries Wings game on like a, Wednesday night, for example. And I think that's where I think the game grows as well as Caitlin Clark grows. So I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. Like, again, I don't know that they're doing a good job highlighting things, but it's exciting certainly to see. I don't know. It's exciting to see like superstars are fun, man. Superstars are fun.
I mean, like I don't follow the game. I'm not watching WNBA. I couldn't, like, if you quizzed me, I would probably struggle to name 20. I think I could name 10 stars, but they're doing a really good job. I don't know. Maybe it is just my timeline for whatever reason, but it's like, I couldn't have told you who Cameron Brink was last year, and I see her everywhere now. Like, something's happening, at least in my world. I'm seeing a lot more of the stars in the WNBA beyond Caitlin, and I've never seen that before this year.
Yeah, I think that is, and I think to your point, like I think it is the Caitlin Clark effect to a point where it's like a good player. It's like, look, I mean, not a lot of people watch, like NBA was like in the 80s, it was like you needed the Showtime Lakers to watch the NBA, and that brought a lot more eyes to it because the Showtime Lakers are great. Jordan elevated it up another level, and suddenly like individual players are getting highlighted even more. LeBron brought some culture into the NBA following the Jordan thing, where it was like he had this sort of like mystique around him. Like players individually, particularly in basketball, do drive more interest. And so all of those people should be thanking Caitlin Clark for being a absolute like transcendent superstar, because she's like, I mean, she made Iowa good at basketball. It didn't make any sense. If she had gone to UConn or something like that, they would have just won 4 titles in a row. So, yeah, man, definitely interesting. Joey Valls, we're going to keep WNBA quick, but go ahead and get in here, and then we'll go to some Web3 stuff, because I know we got a guest coming up. We got to do our update. We got Bunchu coming up at 9. So Joey Valls, get in here.
Yeah, I'll be quick. So I'm on Team Steve here with it's the Caitlin Clark effect. And not to mention, it's also the algorithm, right? So every time I take the time to watch a video that comes up on Caitlin Clark, I start to see like other things, like a video on Angel Reese. I don't search Angel Reese. I don't follow Angel Reese. I don't follow the WNBA. But because I'm watching a video on Caitlin Clark, other things start to pop up on the timeline related to that. So I don't think it's, and this is just me countering what Cap said. I don't think it's more. I think it's just because of the way the algorithm works on social media. When you're watching something or sharing it or commenting on it or whatever, you start to see more of it. If it wasn't for Caitlin Clark, nobody would talk about the WNBA. Let's be completely honest. Like, there's been a lot of stars that have come through the WNBA. You've had the Diana Taurasi's, you've had the Sue Birds, the last big star that was really marketable was Lisa Leslie.
I agree.
And it's been a long time.
I agree with everything you're saying. What I'm saying is it's a different level now than all those stars who came before. And something has, like, yes, I agree. It is the Caitlin Clark effect. Just like we had the Magic Johnson, Larry Bird effect, just like we had the Michael Jordan effect, just like we had the Tiger Woods effect, just like we had the LeBron effect. Like generational superstars, like can bring a lot of eyeballs, and then that's going to bring more attention to the other stars. And what I'm seeing is the WNBA isn't making it just about Caitlin. I'm seeing, like, again, I don't follow these teams, but like as Payne says, Dallas Wings has Paige, who's a big star power. New York Liberty has a star power. So do the Aces. Like, I think they can continue. She's also young, right? Like, she stays healthy, she's going to be playing for another 10 years. I see this compounding, similar to how golf price purses, viewership, and just golf boomed after the Tiger Woods effects. Like, I don't think it's going to stop just with Caitlin. You know, John Rahm
Yeah, but I would wager if you look at
Woods.
attendance numbers and viewership numbers when it's not Caitlin Clark, I don't think it's having the effect you think it's having though. Because when you look at arenas, when like I've seen WNBA games on TV, like when I'm scrolling where Caitlin Clark's not playing, and there's empty seats all over the arena. When Caitlin Clark plays, the arena's full. So I don't
not
think
just that, Joey. Not just that
carryover effect.
Not just that, like when they've actually moved the games for Fever into bigger stadiums. So like when Caitlin Clark comes to town, they go to the bigger stadiums because she fills up the arena. People don't go otherwise. I agree. I mean, I think Tiger Woods to golf, I think different type of analogy. They were all making a lot of money even before and after, and he grew the game.
Yeah, but when Tiger Woods didn't play in a tournament, what happened at that tournament?
Exactly. Like people watched for Tiger, and it definitely helped. I don't think this is the same effect at all, though.
But Tiger doesn't play now. The golf prize pools, the tournaments. He changed the game forever. Go back and look at those earlier. Like there's like the 120 ranked golfer on tour now makes more money than like Greg Norman did. Like he very much so changed the game tremendously, and it still happens. Like golf is still popping today, and Tiger's basically done. Like
the Greg Norman comparison isn't great because like that's like comparing NFL or NBA players in the 90s or 80s to NFL or NBA players today. Like that obviously the paychecks and the numbers go up. But again, we'll see how the thesis plays out. I don't think the WNBA is going to boom or grow because of Caitlin Clark. I think people will watch it and they'll watch Caitlin Clark, but I don't think it's going to be like Tiger Woods in golf where people picked up golf clubs and played recreationally who never would have otherwise played because of Tiger Woods.
I have cousins that I hard disagree. I have cousins that are like younger teenage girls. All of them are playing basketball now. They've become huge fans. They go to these games. Like they weren't like this before. Like she's having an effect with young girls. Like they're absolutely picking up the game of basketball where they weren't previously.
Yeah, I think that'll happen.
I would agree with that. I think that young girls are seeing Caitlin Clark as like an example, a hero, somebody to live up to. And I would imagine because if you think about it in women's sports, prior to that, it was tennis with the Williams sisters. Like when have we had outside of, again, maybe in the last like 10 years, and I'm not a huge women's sports fan, but outside of Caitlin Clark, since the Williams sisters, when have we had a woman in a woman's sport really come in and make like the type of monumental impact that like Caitlin Clark has made?
Also, real quick, Steve, Dobbins is offering to hook you up in the chat. I want to make sure you saw that.
I'm good. I got it. I got through it. Eventually worked on the EVM. I don't know. We'll see. I guess.
Did you use Base? Because I used ETH on Ethereum and it went.
I think I ended up using ETH on Ethereum because Base wasn't working. Yeah. I mean, like, look. I mean, like, it's Simone Biles is the GOAT in gymnastics. Drove probably some more women to kind of check that out. And do more of that. I know it's always been sort of that sport. That gets the highlight. Caitlin Clark's obviously there. So we'll see. I don't think it's like a Tiger Woods effect on golf. I guess my point. Like golf is uber popular because everybody picked up golf clubs. And I think the other thing about it is it's not a fair comparison because golf, us old heads can go out and play golf. Like if we go play pickup hoops, we're probably ripping an ACL. Like it's bad news for us in our 40s. So I think like there's also like that fact. But I just think she's definitely getting people interested. I just don't think
I just started diving into numbers. It's definitely more than just Caitlin games. I understand. I've also seen empty WNBA arenas. Attendance last year was up 48% year over year. That's huge.
It's crazy how much.
Yes, a lot of that was like the Fever were the biggest, the biggest increase, but most of the teams showed double-digit year-over-year growth. Indiana led it with a 319% increase, but most of these teams saw tremendous increases year over year.
Yeah, I mean, we could dig into numbers. I guess my more point is like I just back up to say like it's crazy to think like how one transcendent human being. Like think about how crazy this is. Like you're a person, I'm a person. Like I've met you and I have both been very fortunate to be in the presence of like, you've talked about being on the field for NFL games. I, have been on the field for, Ohio State games, and I've, interviewed Shaq and other people like that. It's wild that these people are the same species human being as us, but that one individual person, like when Joe Rogan says something, it makes headlines. Like Joe Rogan was like talking about like, the myth of dragons, and they spun it into Joe Rogan thinks dragons existed, which he didn't. But of course, he's a comedian, and he's not somebody who's like offended by that. He just immediately posted pictures of dragons on his Twitter and stuff. But it's like one person. Joe Rogan says something. Donald Trump says something. Caitlin Clark plays basketball. Tiger Woods plays golf. Michael Jordan plays basketball. One human being changes the trajectory of industries, history. I mean, it is ultimately like we're all just a little pebble in an ocean, and those people are just like dropping like a rock in a lake, right? It's crazy the ripple effect they have. So I think
that's my thesis is if she stays healthy, what we've seen, this Caitlin Clark effect, it will compound for the next 10 years. In my lifetime, that's what I believe. I saw a very similar thing happen with Tiger Woods in golf. I think I saw similar things happen with Michael Jordan in NBA. I think we've seen, I mean, those are really the Tiger, Michael, LeBron. Like Caitlin's in that conversation for her respective sport. And I don't think this even plateaus for many years. Like it's going to continue to compound for at least like, I just don't see it going backwards. Like if I could buy stake in the WNBA right now, I would.
They need to like fix it for her to win the title. Like they need to fix it. They need the fix to be in. If she is in
games and they don't put the Fever in the finals, they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, if she is in the finals, it's gonna be I mean, compare that to like small market finals we got going on now in the NBA, which by the way I love.
I've been watching the NBA finals. I just watched the highlights. I am gonna put a Caps clutch market parlay of the day in with the Pacers in it today so we can root on for our dogs. And I'll watch the highlights tomorrow. If the Fever make the WNBA finals, I will watch.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Well, disclaimer, as long as the games start before 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, like as long as the games start, as long as it's a matinee, is Cap will watch it if it's at noon.
Sunday at 1 tip off.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be it needs to be like the golf round, and you need to get a nap in. But
by the way, other Web3 news kind of related, and then I'll let you get us off this WNBA talk. Gordon, one of our favorite founders in Web3, shared he's been having some sleep issues and apparently solved it with microdosing melatonin. Interesting thread. If anyone is struggling with sleep, I've shared previously, I am a big fan of the 50 milligram indica capsule, paired with some magnesium, and I sleep like a baby for 7-8 hours. But microdosing melatonin apparently solved his insomnia.
Nice. Yeah, man. The other thing I want to throw out there, just from a personal standpoint, I pinned it up top. I dropped my first article from my long form writing yesterday. Thanks to everybody who checked that out and gave it a look. Appreciate y'all for going Machiavelli commenting on it. Thank you. Appreciate everyone who checked that out, because that's like one of those things where it's like one of the things that's like the big tests of, like, we show up here every day to 1,000 or so people. That's great for our space, but that's like small when you think comparatively, but we like doing it. So it's something where it's like, you're supposed to be. When I wrote that and recorded that, it's like, I'm like, I don't care if anybody reads this. I like having it there on the record, things that I've done. I like the research. I like the process. So I don't know, like it may lead me to like, I've been considering whether I should be like a professor at like a college or anything. And I've thought about that as like potentially like a, sort of a career that wouldn't take me away from this, but would give me the opportunity to do something else, like education wise on the cutting edge of technology, like sort of an emerging tech professor. And I more and more think that might be something that I'm interested in, because I love these deep dives. I love the academic thought process. I'd love to have like professors have like especially in like business schools, they have students who like, who surprise them, who teach them things because they write a thesis that like changes the way they think about it. I like reading long academic writing. So it's like, man, I've thought more and more about that recently. It's funny because it's something that Scott's told me I should do for like 2 years. He's like, you should go be a professor somewhere. And I just haven't bitten on it because it's just it's a world that I haven't dove into. But the long academic writing, so I pinned it to the top. So any likes, retweets, comments, as well as clicks through and reading. Actually, one of the things I did is I recorded it, and we'll talk to Bunchu about this today. But Bunchu basically is like, you can now train if you do that enough. 11 Labs has gotten even better, so you can train your voice to read your article for you, and then you'll just have to clean up like a little thing here and there if they mispronounce a word. But if anybody wants to listen to it like a podcast, I did do a recording of it just because it felt like it was good if you're having a article that takes like 15 minutes to read, to have somebody be able to listen to it. So give me a little love on that if you don't mind. If you're out there listening, and you could do one thing for me today, it's either check out that article, give that post some love, or something, because I very much appreciate it. But
Steve 1.5x is recommended.
Yeah, and I read it the same way that I was instructed to read the same way that I was instructed to read my book for my for the Everything token. So it's very similar style to a book that you would listen to. I almost said book on tape, an audio book that you would listen to, which is how a lot of stuff is consumed. So yeah, so any love up there, much appreciated, because it's a lot of love and time goes into those sorts of things. So Payne asks, what's a tape? That's what my kids say. I love asking my kids about technology and giving them a chance to answer it. It's always funny back in the day. Big mistake I made, Cap. One of my biggest bag fumbles of all time that I didn't just push on, I just didn't see it coming, is the Circle IPO. I don't know if you've seen this. Circle IPO sitting at 200. I could have gotten in at, we all could have gotten in at what? Like on Robinhood, we got to get in for $30.
I don't think you could have got 30, but that's what the banks suggested 30, but I don't know if anyone actually got in on IPO day. It's not like that. Everyone you might have been able to get at like 70, 80 if you were really on it, but I don't know anyone that got in at 30.
We know at least one person who got in at 30. They're a millionaire now.
Well, but that was pre-IPO. I don't know anyone that got in on IPO day at $30. Like, I know professional traders, and they weren't able to get in on IPO day. They kept trying and couldn't get anything to go through. And eventually, I think, I've heard anywhere from like 80 to like 100. But yeah, I don't know anyone that got in.
Well, either way, I mean, that's another one where it's like at 100, it seems like we're like, oh man, it's like people who didn't buy Bored Apes at like 2 ETH because they're like, come on now, like, what are we doing here? And then like Bored Apes shot up to like 100 ETH, which is crazy to say out loud when you think it. But I mean,
actually, no one saw it, but I sent out a post yesterday. One of my in real life friends, who's a real financial advisor, manages a massive book at Merrill Lynch. He texted me on Friday asking about it, and I missed the text somehow, and replied back to him. He's like, I'll find it here. He says, shit, my ex is acting up. Anyways, I'll come back to it. He just, long story short, he asked if Circle was a buy, and I missed it until eventually responding and said, yeah, this was a buy. Not sure where it goes from here. Coin is the big winner. When Circle wins, they get like 60% of revenues. Not sure specifics, but it is big. Also, look at Hood as a beta play. They're launching perp soon. I think it'll be a big boom in volume. And then last but not least, I showed Hyperliquid. He said, I almost bought at 70, then at 115, it kept running away. I'll get in at some point. But where I wanted to get to is he says, hey, buddy, hope all is well. I wanted to get your thoughts on Circle and whether it's a buy or not. I know that I'm going to be all over the Gemini IPO.
That was going to be my next question. So keep going. Sorry.
Don't know enough about Circle yet. Thanks for any insight. So my point here in saying all that is it's happening. TradFi wants in crypto. They want crypto exposures. This is not just some, Zoomer that's got $1,000 in an E-Trade account. This is a very successful financial advisor who works with again, in this case, I don't know, I'm probably saying too much, but anyways, they're like the shift has happened. And I think my thoughts on Circle, I think part of it is FOMO. I think you're seeing a lot of TradFi people just like they want exposure, and they don't like even that guy. This guy is dialed in, and he's like, I don't know enough about Circle yet. Now they're FOMOing in, they're learning, and what's next? So it's Gemini, Tron's a whole nother animal, but yeah, I think this is just the beginning. And, we've talked so many times about at some point, financial advisors are going to start recommending 1% allocation, 2% allocation, 5% allocation, 10% allocation to crypto for their clients. I think it's accelerating. I think we get there very quickly, in my opinion. I think by this time next year, it might be the norm that most financial advisors are recommending some crypto exposure in their clients' portfolios.
Gemini doesn't have a token, right?
No.
Do you think, okay, so I'm going to throw out a crazy theory here. So like, we're probably not going to be able to get exposure to an IPO, right? Like, because we're not going to, or pre-IPO. We might buy after. Obviously, if people aren't familiar with Gemini, it's got a ton of products. It's got exchange, derivatives. It's got a stable coin. It's got the credit card that they just came out with. It's got staking. I may move some staking over to Gemini just in the off chance that the IPO, they do well, and they're like, hey, we can issue a token. Now, I don't know if they would do that at this point. If they're going public, like with a stock, why do that? But if you can have your cake and eat it too,
So
I don't know.
Well, this is, I mean, that's why I mentioned Tron is a whole nother story, because they do have a token, and this gets messy. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know. Like, my first thought is it's got to be dilutive. No, like, are people would like how's this play out? Tron's going to go public. Okay, anyone who's holding X amount of our token, you can get in the pre-IPO. I don't understand exactly how all that will work from where they are today to actually going to their IPO. But if you're a big holder of Tron, don't you think those individuals are going to want to actually own equity in the company? Like, is it not going to lead to massive selling pressure of their token?
I don't know. I think it might be buy pressure by the way people. That's why I'm trying to figure out like how we play these things from where we sit, because we are not the we're not the guys who are getting them on pre-IPOs.
I mean, this is probably a dumb question, but there's currently no public traded companies with a token, right?
I mean, unless you consider a stablecoin a token, then no.
True.
Because I mean, sorry. What's that?
Yeah, a non-stable token. No one has a brand token, a governance token. Like, there's no, other than stable coins, there's no publicly traded companies with a token today, right?
Not that I'm aware of. Do you think, if you had to think of in the NFT world, who's most likely to become a publicly traded company, an NFT community-based brand? What's your answer?
I don't know. My brain keeps going back to Klanos.
Over Igloo.
Is that weird?
I would go Igloo. You think? I think Igloo. I think that, I don't think board like the way.
So the reason I say that is because it's cleaner. Like, they haven't raised yet. They don't have a token. Igloo has raised. They have tokens, soon to be plural, and I mean, you're probably right. Probably would be Igloo, I guess, but I don't know.
So I think about Igloo. I think, yes, they have tokens, but they have a business in the toys, the books, etc. They have a blockchain, which means that they have the sort of, distribution channel to put dApps on with people, running volume, and that's another revenue stream. They have the community who's really interested, the different NFT sort of, pieces that they have and parts there. I think if one of the NFT brands is going to go public, now I don't know if they would even want to. I don't know if anybody wants to go public. I mean, I don't think Yuga wants to go public. Yuga Labs, initially you thought about like, okay, they did this big valuation, they're going to go public. They're divesting things right now. They're focused.
Well, they just like any of the ones that raised in 21, 22, they would, they're at best a cycle away from even thinking about that, because it'd be down round right now. It's just not anyone that raised at the Pico top of the mania. I just don't think that's feasible. I immediately, crossed Yuga off my list, because it's just not feasible for them to even get back to that valuation at this point.
I guess part of it is comes down to, I know we got Oxy coming up. We'll see what Oxy's thinking. I also think it just kind of is a little bit that speaks to like whether like how serious of people are we in Web3 if we can't think of a single, like when you think about startups, you often think about them going public. You think a startup is going to go public. Not all the time, but a lot of times, like we have a hard time thinking of a single NFT Web3 based brand, like which wouldn't be the case 3 years ago.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if that's realistic. Like what I'll just ask Chappie. What is the average time?
I'll let Oxy get in here while you look that up. Oxy, go ahead and get in here, GM.
Yeah, GM guys. No, that's a good question about like publicly traded companies having a token. I definitely think there's tons of self pressure there. If you look at, I mean, like the reason why you like, I mean, I guess traditionally now it's kind of like frothy equities market's kind of crazy, but like there's like inherent value associated with these companies. It comes back in the form of dividends or stock appreciation. If you have a stock that's out there like a ton or whatever it might be, I mean, unless the company's doing buybacks like a Hyperliquid or what have you on that token, which I don't see a company necessarily doing. I guess it's like a treasury buy. I'm kind of like figuring this out as I'm talking, actually. But like, you're not going to be paying dividends to the token holders. You're going to be paying it to the shareholders that actually hold the stock. So I definitely see it as a sell-off opportunity for said token.
Do you think there's a world where they convert?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that a possibility? Like, would they say convert 10,000 Tron to get 1,000 shares of stock? Like, is that a possible outcome here?
Are you saying they sunset the token?
Essentially,
yeah.
Or maybe not sunset it, but give it like if you want to convert, if you want to sell or burn your tokens in exchange for X amount of shares pre-IPO, like, is that crazy?
What's interesting about that is like going through this entire since this NFT phase, there's always an argument like, is it a security or not? At that point, I guess the token is considered a security if you can swap it for another security. It's almost like a convertible note type deal, where I think that could get really messy. That would be really interesting, though.
Yeah, that would be because you have to be, I think, an accredited investor to be in on the IP or the pre-IPO. So I don't think they could be like, hey, this gets you into the pre-IPO. Swapping into stock, I mean, in theory, it could just be cash into cash, and they just give you like, the question is, could they give you like the Apple employee sort of deal where Apple employees get to like buy a certain amount of stock at like the lowest price of the year, regardless of price? I forget exactly what that system looks like, but like, would they be able to do something like that? Or is there a loophole because it's employees? Because in theory, if you're swapping currency for currency, I don't know, no harm, no foul, but it is a fascinating idea. And I don't know. I am not a, I don't know. I think it gets really sticky, and I see the thought process that it would be sell pressure. I also think markets in general act irrationally, and I could see it being a buy situation where people say, well, this is incredibly bullish for the token because they're going public, so therefore you want access to this thing. It just depends how they use it. I think it's more of a pain to manage. I'm not playing around with the Tron at all in any way, shape, or form personally. In this scenario,
I did get my research assistant to help me out with the data. I was thinking like it's just too early for anyone from the 21 class to be going. I mean, it's possible, sure. But in my brain, I was thinking like most companies take some 7 to 10 years, and that is the average. So per ChatGPT, time frames usually seed to Series A 1 to 3 years, Series A to Series C plus 2 to 5 years, Series C plus to IPO 2 to 4 years. Total on average is 7 to 10 years. It varies by industry. Like biotech, pharma might be 5 to 7 years. Consumer products, CPG products, 8 to 15 years. Hardware, 8 to 12 years. SPACs could potentially shorten the path as little as 3 to 5 years. But it would be to see any of those 21, 22 companies to go public already would be a massive.
I guess I'm not thinking. I was going to say I'm not thinking already as much as like which ones could you even see in the future?
Oh, in the future.
Like if you were to say in the future, these NFT companies, NFT community-based brands or native brands are going to be public. Who could you see going public in the future? Not necessarily tomorrow, but even in 5 years, 7 years, 3 years, whatever the time frame is. Who would you see going public? And my answer is Igloo is the only one that comes to mind because abstract with the ecosystem. They have a toy distribution. They have book distribution. They have all those different distributions.
Well, I mean, Hugo's back in the conversation. If we're talking years from now, it just would hinge on Other Side being a massive hit. I'm not betting that happens. I think Other Side would be successful. If it's a mainstream hit, then yeah, Yuga's back in that conversation. That's in the range of outcomes. I'm not saying it's likely to happen, but if Other Side puts themselves in the Fortnite / GTA conversation, then yeah, then they're back in that conversation as well in 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, because I think we looked at it and we said like, you know, in 2021 we would have said like
Doodles was said that way, but I don't think with their current path. I would have said Doodles back in December.
Yeah, I would have said Doodles 6-7 months ago, actually. Yeah, you're right. And now I would say probably not on that note. So yeah, it's a fascinating thing because I think like, you know, 2-3 years ago, we would have said, you know, all these different companies and we would have had all these different like brands and being like, oh my God, like they all are on the path, on a trajectory.
Cool Cats and Jenkins Ballet, they're all going public. No.
Yeah. Jenkins, all these ones that raised. And now I think the one that we would say is on there is Igloo. I don't know.
I mean, I would expand it too. There's probably companies that I'm not that close with, like Mad Lads. Like if their backpack product's a hit, maybe they get on that trajectory. I think you're right in thinking you mentioned Abstract. I think Abstract, Ape Chain, those that have some infra where it's not just an NFT collection, it's not just consumer goods, but they actually have some infra in the space. I think they may be. I see a path towards that being, you know. So we'll throw Azuki in there. If I don't know what they're doing with Anime Chain, but if Anime Chain and Anime.com, like, yeah, I could see that happening. Like I would not be shocked if 5 years from now, the company that owns Anime.com goes public. Like, I don't know why or how or, you know, but I just like, I think that's a possibility based on the vision or the approaches I think some of these teams are taking. And there's a lot of variables they'd have to execute extremely well. And most will never get there. But I mean, I think it's, you know, the ones that come to mind are the one that, like I said, is the surprise one that may not come to mind would be like Klanos, because they've broken into mainstream. I think they're really clean from a cap table standpoint, is my understanding. And if they continue at this trajectory, it would, you know, their animated series, their game is a smash hit. Like I wouldn't like, that's probably like my underdog. I could see it happening with, but the others would be the ones you probably think of: Yuga, Igloo, etc.
Yeah, Klanos is the interesting one that comes to mind for that reason. I would agree with that. I think Klanos is one that you know, assuming that they continue on this trajectory, like they're almost the one that, like, Klanos would be the one that fits most tightly into your, like, look, this might take a little bit, right? Like this isn't always like, you know, a straight line. Like I think Klanos is the most, you know what I mean? Like Klanos is the most like, we're not thinking about it now, but in 5 years it might seem obvious type one. Because if they have an animated series and they have a game and they have a loyalty system and they're white labeling their loyalty system and they have a badge system and they're using the technology in a smart way, they might be the one that's like, yeah, like they actually have a legitimate shot to do this thing. So if I had to pick like one, it might be that we haven't talked about out of the obvious. I think Klanos is actually a really good call. Oxy, saw your hand flap. Get back in here.
Yeah, thanks. So I asked this question on the modern market. I'd be curious your guys' thoughts. Do you think in the industry that we're in, where there's so much capital to be raised and so much, you know, so many opportunities to bring in cash flow, do you guys think that going public, I mean, is the right move for these types of companies? I feel like the additional regulatory, all the additional costs that come along with IPOing, obviously you can raise shitloads of money through a public offering like this, but there's also just so much money in the space to raise privately and then not have all the headaches and regulatory requirements that you have. Like, obviously, this is pivoting the conversation a little bit, but I guess what are your thoughts on that? Do you guys feel like it's just that you're better off? Like, do you think IPOing is the right move for some of these companies, or I guess generally, what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, I don't. I think I agree with you. I think for most, it would not. It's not like there's not necessary, right? Like, what is anyone building that they need to go raise that much that way? I think that's why I struggle thinking of these like NFT brands. Is it would be many iterations from their current businesses from now, right? Like the examples I gave, other sides of smashing mainstream hit. That'd be, the Yuga's a very different company in that world than they are today. Yeah, I agree with you. There's the access to capital here is, and I think especially now that we're seeing TradFi want in here, I could see, I think we're going to have an actual legitimate second ICO season. And I could see more of the money coming here and then just not the need to go public and deal with the headaches that come with all that. Now, I say all that, I think we'll see. I don't think Circle is going to be the last stablecoin company to go this route. And I could see some change and some infra. But on the NFT front, yeah, I don't I don't know if it'd be worth the headache.
I mean, for
I've never taken a company public, so I'm not the expert here.
No, I think actually, Oxy, I think you're exactly correct. And I think the answer, because I think you were, I remember if you said specifically at the end or you insinuated, but I think the answer is no. I don't think it makes sense. And I think people sometimes miss the perils of financial vehicles like a VC raise or going public. So number one, like a VC raise, even before we go into the going public action, because a lot of times VC raises are with the intent of going public down the line. There's a scene in Silicon Valley that's really good. Like if you haven't seen the show Silicon Valley, it's remarkably on the nose and holds up comparatively. I mean, there's some things that don't hold up, but there are definitely some things that hold up. When like there was a scene where a guy's sitting at a bar and he's like raised like 10 billion or some insane number. And Richard, the main character, is like, well, why didn't you just raise less? And the guy's like, you can do that? You can just take less money? Because the guy feels the pressure. He's not meeting it. So one, just raising VC money puts pressure, puts valuations, puts certain milestones, puts certain requirements of how much money. Like, you know, I don't know for a fact. I haven't seen the things, but like people talk about, oh, Kevin Rose made all his money on Moonbirds. I don't know if Kevin Rose made any money on Moonbirds outside of getting equity in Yugo when he sold them, because I think a lot of his early money had to go straight back to VCs who he raised with. So, like, just think about that for a minute. The fact that you raise money, your money's immediately going back into the pockets of the VCs. You have a lot of pressure to do things like sell things like secondary collections or other things to try to raise money and grow into that valuation. Then you get into the stage where, like, okay, we're going public. The amount of regulatory hoops and how hard it is to go through that process, like there are entire companies that bring people through the crazy convoluted process of going public. And then you have certain regulatory requirements, reporting requirements. You have a whole new group of You think NFT holders are tough stakeholders? Imagine what happens when you have large institutional investors who own large shares of your company. People can literally oust you out of your own company by owning certain numbers of shares. So like those things happen, boards of directors and all of these like messy things that get into it. Like I think people look at it and they say, well, Circle went IPO and look at how well they did. That's a long process in the making and a company that makes a ton of sense considering we just had a stablecoin act pass in Congress. They knew that was coming down the pike. They probably had a lot of regulatory discussions that made that happen. Brian Armstrong, who gets a large percentage of Circle's revenue at Coinbase, was having those discussions with regulators. So I just think people miss the plot on how difficult it can truly be to execute on it. So I think that is, anyway, I think that's something that we need to pay closer attention to as we're saying like, oh, like all these companies should go public. Like we're saying all these companies should go public. Like pump the brakes. And I think that's my perspective on it, Oxy. And I don't remember, Oxy, if you gave a perspective, but go ahead, Cap.
No, all this stable coin mania. It's also, I caught this on the bottom. I don't remember who said it. One of them mentioned that it's worth noting that it's one thing we talk about the FOMO of people, TradFi FOMOing into Circle. It's, I think, even more telling that while Circle has just melted faces this week, both Visa and MasterCard are both down about 10%. They're approaching double digit down on the week, like 8-9%. The paradigm has shifted.
Oh yeah, no, it's people are like you said. And I'll put a bow in it with that. Then we'll get Joey Vowles in here and maybe do our update. Then we'll bring on Bunch. But I mean, it's very real, man. It's like I think that we've been saying this for a while. When Bitcoin ETFs and ETH ETFs are coming out, when they're looking at potential other crypto ETFs, when you see Circle going public, when you see what Coinbase is doing, TradFi is always looking for the next sort of opportunistic play of the next sector. Kevin O'Leary said 4 years ago that crypto is going to be, the 12th sector, I think it is, of the S&P 500, whatever the next sector of the S&P 500 is, right? Kevin O'Leary flat out said he believes that crypto is the next sector of the S&P 500. It's just software. Watch what happens here. And I just think that TradFi is going to look to get exposure to that in any way they can. Circle's a good indicator, followed by the stablecoin bill. So they're obviously a major one. They knew that was coming. They're talking with regulators. Coinbase, who's heavily connected with Circle, is talking with regulators. They know what was coming down. So it was probably an opportunistic time frame to go public. But Gemini and other companies that are legitimate revenue-generating businesses in the crypto space, now that we have clear regulations and a clear path, I think a lot more of them are going to be the belle of the ball to some of these TradFi investors, the same way that Bitcoin ETFs and ETH ETFs probably will be as well as things continue to move forward. So I think there is going to be a gold rush, and we think we're late, but we are incredibly early, because once the TradFi money comes in, there are people who are going to be talking about how early we are to this stuff on these shows like Fast Money in a few weeks.
Two quick ones. We got some help in the abstract chat. Klanos did raise. They raised privately at a $30 million fully diluted valuation. Appreciate that, Rarehead. Congrats on getting that round. I think that would be a good one for you. And then also, Dwayne says Good Vibes Club could be a potential in the same way that Klanos. I agree wholeheartedly. That's a team that if they continue to scale their toast business and Good Vibes Club, I could see them ending up in that. Like, it's like they're a very small team. I don't even know if that's in their goals or their visions, but if they continue to move forward, 5 to 7 years from now, I could see that becoming a realistic conversation. And 7 to 10 years from now, maybe it happens for Good Vibes Club, or it's Toast, their parent company that's even has more history. Like, yeah, that's a great call. And that's kind of like, I could see more of that, where you've got a real business that's generating real revenue. Kind of like go back to Doodles, even though like I could have seen it. Why I could have seen it happening in December was Golden Wolf, right? They have I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna put the button on it there, but yeah, I think that those are all certainly possibilities, and it's just, but I don't know if it's the right approach for any of them right now. To be frank. Also, shout out to Rocky, big tip over there in the abstract treat. Greatly appreciate you.
Love to see that. Let's go Joey Vowels, and then we will maybe do the update, and then we'll bring in Bunch.
So I was at 2 startups that actually raised the money. I think that the tricky part is timing, and there was opportunities at both of those startups I was at to raise money early on, and I wasn't one of the founders, but I was pretty involved in the company, and we had all decided not to raise money because we all felt it was way too early. Because number one, we didn't really need the money. And number two, we didn't want that, like you said, like that cloud over us as we were trying to be a nimble early stage startup that was making decisions fast and whatever. Because we knew if we had all that money that we raised early, all of our decisions would be impacted based on how is it going to affect the individuals, the companies, the people that we were raising money with. So it's really intriguing early on when someone's throwing a lot of money at you, but it's just the timing of it, right? Like, you don't want to wait too long, because then you might be in a position where you don't have the money when you need the money. And if you do it too early, and I would say that the biggest struggle, I think, and I'm not an investor. I've never been in I've never invested in companies before. I've always just been part of them, early stage. I would wager the biggest struggle right now with most of these NFT brands from a raising perspective is where's the return? Because so many of them have undeveloped, and I know when it comes to tech, I think Joe has said this before, when it comes to tech, they're investing in the potential, right? So I don't know if these businesses fall into that category or not, but I struggle to see with a lot of these businesses, where do I get my return? If you've already launched your token or tokens, so I'm not going to be part of the initial token, the TGE, and you don't have sustainable revenue models, what's my 3, 5 year, 10 year, what's my exit, what's my ROI? So I think until one of them has, if they haven't launched a token yet, it's a different conversation, right? Because you as the investor can be part of the TGE, and that's where you can start to pull out your investment. But if they've already launched tokens and you're looking at some of these businesses or the NFT projects or whatever it is, it's well, where am I going to get my money out? How am I going to get an ROI if you don't have a sustainable revenue model that I can take, just distributions from, whether it's quarterly or annually? So I think that's the other struggle with some of these businesses. is where does the money come from if to pay me back if I give it to you if you've already had a token generation event?
Fair. No, fair. It's a messy thing, and I think timing always matters on these sort of things. I would wholeheartedly agree with that. And where is the revenue coming from? I mean, that's why it's like the funny conversation we're having is we're like, what do you know? Like there's a revenue generating company, in crypto or in Web3, I should say, in the NFT space. Yay. Like we're like actually celebrating that stuff. And it's I don't know, Rect might be another one, I guess, as we talk about that, depending on how they continue to scale, would be another interesting one to think about. But let's daily market update, and then right after that we'll bring in Bunchu. I know we got him for a half hour, and then we got another guest coming on, so I will play us in there.
The daily market update straight to your brain, powered by ApeCoin, no hype, just gains. Moving on 8chain, we bringing the heat. NFTs, fence alpha, never miss a beat. 8chain on top, now we bringing the flex. The home of NFTs, figures now what's next. Come on, my head time, money, time, chop, for one time.
It is time for the Daily Market Update powered by ApeCoin, the home of NFTs. ApeChain has it all, bringing culture, fun, and community to the blockchain. Dive in and see why ApeChain is on top. Cap.
We'll start with our Coinbase 50 here. Before I get into those even, I have to update our hype for all of our Hyperliquid enjoyers. It is down a few percent on the day, about 3%. Kind of a chop down slightly across the board. Bitcoin's flat at 104,841. ETH up a percent to 25.28. XRP up a percent to $2.15. Solana flat at 145. Doge up a percent. Cardano down a percent. Runes, what is that? 498. Someone is gobbing over on Runes. Almost no volume though, so tread lightly. In the meme world, it's actually kind of green. Pepe leading the charge. Actually, no, SPX, Murad Coin, once again up 7% on the day. This is going to go make me find Fart Coin to see it's up to today. I will be right back as I look at another. I'm going to have to do a custom chart here because I'll highlight some favorites. Fart Coin up looks like about 1% on the day. Mostly flat, but up 0.98% on the day. Back to the others here. We've got Doge. I said Doge up 1%, Shiba flat, Pepe up 4%, Trump up 1%. Murad continued to do his TikTok thing. Bonk is probably worth exploring. There's some Bonk developer, something happened there. I missed it. I saw it kind of hit my radar, but I didn't dive deep. But Bonk up 4% on the day as well. As we head up to NFT land here, we've got a red day across the board. Zulini, another one of those new mints, down 50% on the day, but still seeing some volume. The Gristles from Die with the Most Likes, down 13% to 0.43. Punk's flat at 44 ETH. Apes down almost 1% to 11.64. Opepin, 0.21, although I saw some full sets on the Opepin 01s, getting like 20K offers or something that look reasonable. Mutant Apes down 2% to 1.84. Pudgy's down 1.71% to 8.85. Milady's lost their 2 ETH threshold at down 1.73%. Larva Lads continuing to do their thing in the OpenSea farmers arena, and Replicandi by Matt Fury. This was I can't remember the name of who they're working with. It's not Transient Labs. It's another one of the tech shops. And long story short, someone found an exploit in the contract, minted a bunch of these. It was, I guess, open. I've not been following. All I know is it was an open contract. Someone found an exploit, minted a bunch of them, floored them all, and as you can see, it sent the floor spiraling down 92% on the day, 0.004 ETH. Not a good day for Matt Fury in NFT land. But of all the tech exploits, probably on the lighter one. I always think of Aku Dreams and like the 38 million or whatever was locked in that smart contract. That is that was a bad day. But that's our daily market update brought to you by ApeChain. ApeChain on top. Back to you, Steve.
Just a cool 38 million locked in the contract. That was a bad day. Yeah, like, could you imagine? I always remember feeling that one at the time where I was like, could you imagine having that happen to you and being like, $38 million, this is it, this is life changing, locked in the contract. Like, that is a crazy scenario to happen to anybody. So it's just, I don't know. I always feel for that when I think about it. It's like, it gives me like the shivers thinking about it, man. Let's do this. Let's bring on our guy Bunchu and talk a little AI.
Tune in now, it's fire brain time. Hot topics and thoughts so prime. Hit that play, no need to mind. Feel the heat in every line. Fire brain, ignite the night. Fire brain, we're burning bright.
Mr. Bunchu, bringing you on stage to chat a little bit of AI for the week. Now, I am not necessarily keeping up. I am curious, like, what's going on, because of all the public stuff and all the crypto stuff, I have not been nearly diving in enough. My timeline is filled with Google VO, which I think is like, I don't even know what that is, like $250 a month or something insane, but it looks great. So I guess right off the bat, before we get into any news, we've seen prices come down on everything. ChatGPT was the only one that was sort of affordable at first, and now there's a free option and all that. And I think like a lot of these AI platforms are super expensive. How long do you think before I can realistically, affordably start creating stuff like Google VO?
Yeah, great question. It's funny. I literally like seconds before you brought me on was ready to slam my computer through the wall because I put in a prompt to Claude, and I am a Claude Max subscriber. And not only that, I'm a Claude Max subscriber. I literally like the highest possible tier I could have. And I just got an error that said, due to capacity constraints, we couldn't process your request at this time. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, are you kidding me? So I literally am feeling this as we speak because it's kind of ridiculous. However, that said, like, I saw somebody today that tweeted about, they're using the APIs in Claude Code or Cursor or whatever, and they ran up like $1,000 bill in 2 hours. And then they were talking about, how worth it those, $200 a month subscriptions are versus, trying to accomplish the same thing at the API, with some of these like coding tools and things like that. So yeah, that struggle is real. I think, just like everything, over time, the cost of these things are going to come way down. Like, I was listening to a podcast this week where I think it was Sam Altman or somebody breaking down something that Sam Altman had said, basically saying that over time, the cost of these to run them will be similar to the cost of your electricity. Like, it would be a 1-to-1 cost over time. And like, we've definitely seen that, right? So like, just in the past 18 months, 24 months, the cost of these APIs and tokens and things like that have gone down 80-90% from what they were. And all the new models seem expensive at first, and they take more compute and all that stuff. And then the next one comes out and the prior one becomes cheaper. And so you kind of play with this balance of like capability versus cost. And but then you have a whole other question, like you just posed, about these software wrappers that, like, how do you pick and choose which ones you want to use? And the like subscription creep definitely happens, and all of a sudden you're spending $1,000 a month on AI tools, and you're like, well, just plug me into the Singularity already, please.
It does feel a little bit like we were looking at our cable the other day, and it's like Peacock, it's so much worse than cable. Streaming services are supposed to solve that. It's like Peacock, YouTube TV is now like $100 a month or something. And it's like, so we're $100 a month on YouTube TV. And then we have Peacock. And by the way, Disney Plus. And we pay for these, but the subscription we pay for still has fucking commercials in it. And so it's like, we're doing all these things where we're paying like probably like $2,000-$3,000 a year for television at this point, which I think we're going to get rid of some of those and start paring those down. But AI is very much moving the same direction. But it feels like, in a very different way, competitors are just going to come down and offer cheaper, better opportunities. Do you think there's a monetization model where, is it advertising, like where they do something that allows them to make money without having to charge the user, and therefore they get that thing covered and we're not paying $200 a month, and instead it's free, but there's some other trade-off in information, data, or something?
Totally. Yeah. Like, I think you're definitely going to see that. I feel like I've already started to see like ads injected into some stuff that I was not prepared for. So I definitely think you'll see things like that. It's interesting. I think the individual softwares have a whole different problem because they're all kind of trying to niche down into this one specialized thing, but there's a cost to that for them to operate, and they have to pass that cost on to a user. But at the same time, the models from these labs are getting more and more capable. So do you need these bespoke types of software that you can do the same thing with ChatGPT if you're okay copy and pasting some of the results instead of, having it done for you, et cetera? So I think like some of these softwares are going to have a really hard time with that because the models from the labs are getting generally more capable, right? So, let's just use a random example like Lovable, and people use that for like designing UI and things like that. But I could do that in Claude, and I just need to know how to like copy and paste some HTML somewhere. And now I don't need a Lovable subscription, or for example, and so like, what do they do over time? Like they need to either be cheaper, which they can be because they kind of rely on all these models. And if they get cheaper and more capable, but then, it's also harder for them to sustain a customer base. And so I think like some of these wrapper apps are going to have trouble when, as we approach like the more general capabilities. I think you're going to see, I think the real winners are going to be like almost like really specific consumer app type of things that solve a problem. Like, it's really interesting. I saw let's see if I can find the tweet while we're talking, because it just triggered me. I saw a tweet the other day that was basically like, how much, or like, what are Claude, here it is. Let's see. It says, I'll see if I can share it real quick. Yeah, this is it. If you want to throw it up there. Yeah, so this is from somebody at DD Das, and it said, Anthropic's latest data drop shows Claude is used for a lot more than software and text, which, by the way, the top thing on here I think is really interesting. Sports betting strategies.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Somebody should build around that.
Explaining religious texts, performance enhancing substances, drafting legal documents, financial market trading, optimized video games, right? And so like
I do all those except optimized video games. That's the only thing I don't do on that list. And it's probably actually minus, like, I don't ask it to explain religious views, I guess. But like remove that one, and the other.
You probably do something adjacent to that, right?
Yeah, and it's probably like my use is almost in that order too. Like this is not a hyperbole. The number one thing that I use it for every single day is sports betting, or in my case, firing battle royales. Like it is my research assistant for something I do every day, and it's
and so my point showing this and where I was going with that like thought was, you've got kind of these apps that are generalized, like, so a Lovable, for example, I'll stay down that path. That's kind of a coding task, right? It's for software and code and all of that stuff. And, but what you see here from something like this is like all of the very different niches that people are using this for. And so I think what you'll see is like, people creating very tailored experiences around these types of things, rather than that are a better overall experience than just the general use of one of these models, right? It's like, okay, yes, can O3 help you with sports betting advice? Absolutely. If you are a hardcore sports bettor, will there be an AI powered product out there that can do it better for you than O3, because it's using O3 under the hood and building this really tailored experience to the thing your hobby is about? Like, that's the things I think you're going to see from this. And because like OpenAI is never going to tailor their whole product around a sports betting app, right? However, you can see people are using it for this stuff. So I think like that's where it's funny. I sent this to some people at Billy, and I was like, we should put this in our deck. And somebody said, why would we put this in our deck? It's competitive. And I said, I totally disagree. This to me is more like, when people post a Google search like chart, and they're like, look at the trending searches for AI and AI agents, and it's an indicator that you're in the right spot. I think that's what this is, right? It's like the AI version of what people are searching for and Googling and all this stuff. And this is where you can build products around that I think last, because you're never going to get these big labs that tailor a full experience to one of these things. They can do it in a general way. But if you have a really aggressive, sports betting hobby, or if you're extremely religious or whatever, and like you can build an entire experience using the same models and the same capability, but really tailored for a specific use case. And I think kind of like that's where you're going to see like these companies evolve, if that makes sense.
So that's what I was going to ask the question of, is that how much, like, everyone's worried about AGI and it's going to take all our jobs and all these other things, which I'm a firm non-believer in AI taking all our jobs. Like, I think that we're talking about in AI rhymes with industrial revolution, internet age. Obviously it's very different in some ways, but I don't think it takes all our jobs. I think more jobs come out of it. Like, everyone thought that, restaurants would be killed because everyone would eat at home by the internet, and now we have this entire gig economy, right? There's different things that happen. So I guess my question would be like, I'm trying to think of how to frame this. So something like ChatGPT as a virtual assistant is super helpful, and I think virtual assistants will hone in to be more personalized as they go. But do we care about having something that does everything, or is it more along the lines of like Billy Betts and your pocket psychologist? Maybe not that one, because that one has a lot of risks associated with it, but like your pocket, like whatever, right? It's like your construction assistant who helps you, like you need to fix things around your house. Home Depot has an AI app that actually talks you through it and does it in a better way. Like, it seems like specialized use cases the same way. And you've talked about apps in that sense. It feels like that's the direction this goes, less so than like, we need 1 million models that are chasing down being the smartest supercomputer that does everything. Am I crazy in thinking that maybe like that's the direction we go, or is that sort of the same thing you're saying?
I agree. I think but it's interesting because you're starting to see like OpenAI really, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago when they hired, I forget where she was, the prior was it Instacart CEO? And they hired her to run product, right? And so I think what you're starting to see is OpenAI almost take this stance a little bit by really starting to build out products rather than just models. And so I think they're going for like this general assistant product, which I actually think they're probably building towards an operating system more so, right? Like, I think that's kind of where that heads, but I also think they're chasing somebody more enterprise, professional type of thing, and sure, general purpose like assistant as well, but something you can connect all your data to, etc. That's the route they're going to go. But then I do think like there's plenty of room for the app layer. Like, when this stuff first came out, they were like, oh, there's no moat in wrappers, right? Like wrapper apps. And I think that's actually kind of been disproven so far, in terms of like, I mean, let's take like a Cursor or a Windsurf that just got bought by OpenAI for $3 billion, right? So there's definitely room for the app layer, but it's got to solve a specific problem, right? And like I think the other thing we have the power to do here with this is like reimagine the way a user uses an app, like reimagine what an app even is with AI and these models and the form factor and all of that stuff. And I think I think people who take advantage of that are going to have a really interesting opportunity in front of them. So I agree, there's plenty of room for like this specialized app layer. I think that the rub is going to be you need to make an experience that is better than the general experience you get from using these, lab models like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever for the thing you're doing. And it needs to be like a much better experience, and it needs to be sticky, and it needs to be personalized so that you create this switching cost feeling of like, well, yeah, I could go to ChatGPT and do the same thing for sports betting, but if I do that, I'm losing all of the stuff that I did on Billy Bets, for example, right? Or like Billy Bets doesn't have the memory of, or I mean, ChatGPT doesn't have the memory and context of the things I just did for the last week. Like there's a real thing that can be done there as we get into, agents and memory and all of that kind of really interesting personalization stuff, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's I wrote that down. I actually pulled up. I have like it's funny now that I'm like writing like different like things that I like to dig into and like go deep on it. One of the things I wrote down is reimagining what an app even is. That is a actual like really, that is a bar right there, because I think like that's the thing that's crazy to me is like the idea that like way we interact with the internet today on an app seems completely foreign to where we were even, 20 years ago. But then in the next 10 years, like, your app is going to have different types of rewards because of crypto. Your app is going to have different types of information because of AI. It's going to have to do different things where I'm not just shopping on, I don't know, where do people get clothes nowadays? That's nice. I just get all my clothes online. Whatever it is. Like people go to like, is Banana Republic still a thing? I'm not sure. But like, you don't just go to the Banana Republic app. It like actually lets you try the clothes on with AI, because I've seen like how that works, and it lets you know your exact sizing based on taking proportions of you. And it does, your stretching app is going to tell you like what you need to do differently in a different smart way. Like, and you're going to be able to ask it questions and be like, man, my hip feels off today. And they're like, here's 5 things you should do, and here's where you want to be careful and what not to do. And so I just think reimagining what an app is a very, like, that's an incredible way of thinking about it.
I mean, a very specific example for what we're thinking, the way I'm thinking about it is, we were having another conversation the other day, and somebody said, to compete, we have to be great at mobile. And like, that is obviously a very true statement with like everything that you're building these days, right? You have to win. You have to be great at a mobile experience. And so, but my challenge back was, I think we have the opportunity to reimagine what being great at mobile means with AI and agents, right? Like, I keep coming back to the fact that like this technology allows you to build something that spans across platforms, spans across like modalities, spans across, like, has memory, persistent memory of you across, a text message to using the app on the web app to using it in Telegram or whatever, right? And so like, well, what is actually being great at mobile in this era mean, right? Like, does it mean you can log on to billybets.ai and place a bet seamlessly? Or does it mean you could add Billy to a text chat on your phone and place a bet from your couch by texting it? Like that's what I'm thinking about in terms of like, what does an app layer even look like in kind of this new world, where I think we actually probably are going to end up in a place where we spend less time on the actual like web, right? And the web will kind of turn into a place where our agents hang out and synthesize a bunch of data for us and bring it back to us. And you can execute things from other modalities that you just like don't do now.
That's man, that's so much more creative than like my random off the cuff things when I was like, yeah, you have to do this in the app or this in the app. Like that's really interesting and creative. And that's I mean, I know you think about this stuff 24/7, obviously, but like it's just, I think like that's like what you're kind of synthesizing a little bit for me is I was like, the Industrial Revolution changed the way we interact with the world. The internet changed the way we interact with the world. AI is going to change the way we interact with the world. So there's a differentiation in like, imagine telling yourself, I remember I always use the example, Independence Day in like 1994 came out and the aliens had like this touch screen, almost iPad like thing they used and everyone's like, whoa, alien technology is crazy. And then like 12 years later, the iPhone came out. And like now it's like we can't imagine our lives without 6-inch screens, but imagine like taking a picture of a group of people walking around today and showing it to people even in the 90s. You'd be like, this is insane. AI is probably going to have that same effect where it's like in 20 years, 10 years, 5 years even, it's unrecognizable from the way we interact with the world now because of it. Is that kind of your thinking on how this changes?
Totally. Yeah. I think, I mean, all of it, I think is going to change. I think it's probably going to be like quicker than we think in terms of like the capabilities to do that. So yeah, I think like if you're starting to think of an idea or something you want to build, like think outside the box with this stuff. You really do have the ability here, because what I love about this, I say it all the time, and I actually feel this way about Web3 stuff as well, where it's like Web3 apps that we use all the time now still sometimes feel clunky or like have a poor kind of user experience because the tech is not as evolved as it needs to be yet for the thing we're trying to do. But and I think we've like started to get there with Web3 stuff, but it's taken like a long time, right? It's taken me from the time I got into crypto in 2017 to now. It's like, there's definitely a difference, but it's still kind of like marginal and incremental. Where I think we're going with AI is like, you can be building things that feel a little clunky now, but in 6 months, because it's not incremental, it's exponential, like the ability to do the thing that you're imagining now will be here, right? So it's like you're building for the future, but that future is exponential and not incremental. So like you're going to evolve your own building a lot faster, I think, in the AI world, whereas like you can kind of feel the slow grind here in crypto, and it's been a much faster kind of trajectory building stuff with AI. Like even from where Billy was when we started to what we can do now, like totally different, right? And so I think that's kind of the way I like to think of it and the opportunity that I think all of this presents.
I know you got a heart out here in a few minutes, Bunch. We got Mackie waving at us on stage. You got time for a quick question?
I do. And then I just I'll give you the fun couple articles I was going to talk about.
Yeah, sorry I dominated. I'm literally
it's even better.
Notes.
It's better than what I was going to talk about.
I thought we were going to talk about Sam Altman taking shots at stuff, but
I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I've taken like multiple notes during this conversation. Like
this was way better. I was just gonna point to some news articles, but one of them is relevant to what we talked about. The other is kind of funny, but yeah, let's hear from Mackie.
Go ahead, Mackie. GM.
Good morning, gentlemen. So I have a little anecdote to tell. I've gone back into the Web 2 working world. The job that I actually held, I'd say probably 5 or 6 years ago at this point. It's not the same, but the form looks the same. And let me tell you how great AI is at doing this job. Like I am at the point where the people around me, it feels like they're riding horses and I'm driving a sports car. Like it's absolutely crazy, and they're still afraid of it too. And so it's I'm like, there are some people at the company who are very tech forward, mostly the IT people, and there are things that I couldn't do previously in this role, like writing SQL, that I can do in 2 hours now, like, and actually get it to do what I want. It's wild. And I honestly, I'm starting to think like, okay, if I start to design things that make their lives easier, eventually I will design them out. And that's like, I'm grappling hard with that. I'm really like, do I want to like unleash the full spectrum of tools and knowledge that I have, where I can like basically design like me out. And once I do that, like what's stopping me designing someone else out? And I don't know, it just feels real weird.
Well, I'll tell you what, I anecdotally, I read an article the other day about somebody who basically did what you're describing. Was like, oh, they got this job and they basically figured out how to automate 90% of it with AI tools and all this stuff. And instead of like hiding it or whatever and just being passive about it, they showed their boss, and the dude got promoted like so fast.
No, I'm being transparent about what I'm doing with my boss, with the people on IT. Like I'm asking to have.
But this is but like this is what I was talking about. Like I don't know, last week, 2 weeks ago, right? Like you get to be now. You have such like you're the change agent, right? Like that is the place you want to be if you are working in a corporation that is slower to adopt this stuff, right? Like you get to now be the change agent. You're going to be the person they look to kind of teach others how to upskill themselves. I would think of it more, if it were me, I would think of it more that way, of like you get this opportunity to upskill others rather than view it as like phasing them out, right? Like imagine you taught your skills to the next 10 people,
like,
right?
And I want to do that, right? I want to make everyone's jobs easier because we deserve to have less stressful jobs. Everybody deserves that. It doesn't need to be as stressful as it once was anymore. And the problem is like, I just worry that like my boss or my boss's boss will eventually be like, you know what? We can squeeze a little more out, cut these people. It seems like one person can do the job of 4 now. Let's just give it a shot. And that's where I'm like,
or if they're forward thinking, they say, now we have the 10x, we have the productivity of 10 people in the same budget we had prior, and it speed runs everything, right? Rather than cutting the people, you use the same budget and you make those 20 people the productivity of 200. And I think I think the companies that will win will approach it that way rather than and I think it's actually even more so important for smaller to mid-sized companies to think of it that way. I think like huge corporations like the Microsofts and things like that, they're going to definitely have to reduce headcount, right? But I think like small to mid-sized companies should, instead of thinking about reducing cost and budget from this, I think they should think about it more like I'm increasing the product. It's like I have 200 employees instead of 20, and they should be really building programs to upskill those people. And I mean, like, what did I just see? Zapier, I think, which this makes a ton of sense, but like they've literally built it into their hiring and promotions flow of like, they have tiers. Like you're incapable, resistant, you are capable, you are curious, and then like they have these tiers of where people's skills in AI rank, and like to work there you must fall into certain buckets.
How do they identify them? Is it are they doing tests, or is it
I think I'm not sure how they're identifying it with their current employees, but they've now like embedded it into their hiring process and things like that. And I think like that, I think you're totally going to see that. So like, it's funny. I have a buddy who's a product and project manager, and he has been struggling to find a job. And I saw something the other day of like, here's how you, here's the things you need to know to be an AI product manager. And I sent it to him. I was like, add all these things to your resume and learn about it later. Like this, you know what I mean? Because that's like, I think it's going to be a basic requirement of new hiring, right? So it's like, yeah, jobs might be replaced, but there will be new jobs available. But all of those new jobs will, if you're looking at the right companies, will require you to have AI literacy and capability. And to be honest with you, if you are applying for a job that isn't asking you these kinds of questions, I'd look for another job because that place is going to be obsolete.
Or you're going to change everything. I mean, if they're offended by it,
right.
I think because like your point there, man, like I think about the Web 2 world and some of the people like a friend, like actually I can't even say because it's confidential because I don't think it's been announced publicly yet, but I know someone who got a really good job at a really good company, like at a really, really, really good job. And I think about it, I'm like, man, are they integrating AI into their processes or not? And like, I think one of the things we take for granted, what Mackie just said about feeling like he's driving a car when everybody else is riding a horse, it's like, I think of myself as so insufficient in AI because I talk to you every week and we're, great friends. We text all the time. The truth of the matter is, when I go talk to my friends that are my kids' friends' parents, they're at best like, I know what ChatGPT is, but is this really going to stop us from thinking properly or something? I'm like, guys, you're having a conversation I was having like 5 years ago or 3 years ago at VCon at the very least. And like, we're way past that now. And you have the realization that my kids are more efficient than other kids because they now know that you have to ask ChatGPT first before you like not that they only want to do that, but when they were trying to figure stuff out or were going on a vacation and they want to start like researching, they know. And so like other kids don't think that way. They don't even Google necessarily. Some of them are like, oh, just did you Google it? So I think what Mackie just said is probably a thing for everybody who's listening to this or hearing this right now is like, you're probably in the top 1% of users of this, even though it may feel like when we hear all these different tools, right? Like, I mean, or is my perception off? Has the world caught up with me?
No, I think you're 100% right. I mean, I think, yeah. And I think still, even if you're only using ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, and like, that's it. That's like the breadth of your AI tool use. There is mastery to be had within that. And like most people don't even really scratch the surface of the thing that you can be great at, right? Like for me, I like Von Frunten would agree with this too, but like I have a co-CEO project in Claude and in ChatGPT, and I have a prompt that is like knows everything about my business. It's got a 20-page lore doc, and it's like my sparring partner. And like it kind of blows people's minds when you tell them that. And it's like, well, and then wait till you see what I do with it, right? And like how I get to these points. And it's like a real, I don't know, it's a real unlock. And like most people just use it as a glorified Google or whatever. And there's just so much more, and you can master that stuff. And you are already ahead of 99.9% of people there. But
it's a weird thing where it's like I just think about like I think the thing I take for granted, I think a lot of other people do. I know you got to run and we got to hit some things, so sorry. It's just this is really interesting to me. It's like the concept that like I created an image of my ape yesterday that copied an image of Bored Ape Yacht Club, which sounds like a very simple application, but I knew exactly how to prompt to get it on try one. I know exactly how to prompt to get the answers I'm looking for, and I think I take for granted that. Even Dawn, who is more literate, my wife is more literate than, again, 90% of people on AI, but she'll try to do something. She'll be like, I don't understand this. And then in 5 seconds, I can go get it out of ChatGPT because I've trained myself on how to ask the questions and what to do. And I think we lose sight of how far ahead of the curve we are. So,
I think like my one hot tip of the week is I seem to be a small majority that does this, or small minority that does this. But it's so powerful, right? Like I have this problem where I think if I know it, everybody knows it, and including like the model I'm using, right? Like, and so one of the things that like I can write an incredible prompt, but I also know that I still haven't given it all the context it needs. So whenever I'm doing something where I really need a job to be done, at the end of all my prompts, I say, before you start, ask me clarifying questions. And that one thing changes everything. Like I do this with Claude, and Claude is really great at this. And I'm not sure ChatGPT is as good at it. I prefer.
I get it from O3 without asking that prompt. I get that often from O3.
And you should
does ask for those clarifying questions.
Do this, because what will come back is like I got a list of 19 questions back just from asking, give me clarifying questions to complete the goal, and it gave me 19 questions back. And as I'm answering these, I'm like, man. Yeah, like my prompt is really good, but I didn't have any of this context. And then I did it, and then I answered all those questions, and it can one-shot the thing I wanted to do. And then I take the output and I run another turn with it. I say, hey, look, here's what I was trying to do. Here's what you gave me. Critique it, and let's run it back again if there's things you feel like we're missing. Or if you can't complete it now, ask me more clarifying questions. And I do that until it says I'm good to go, and then you run it. And that's like, it takes 5 minutes. but it's a total cheat code to like prompting. It turns the you have to be a master prompter into you just need to get the context to it and let it decide what context it needs, which I think is really powerful.
Yeah. That's I mean, that's a good I've done that a couple times, but it's not a regular thing. I'm going to start working it in because really it's just like an employee where you have a task and the employee asks you clarifying questions, but ChatGPT, because of the nature of it, or AI in general, these LLMs, is like, you ask a question, it's like, here's your picture. And I'm like, that's not all I was looking for. I'm like, oh, you want to ask me? And it also knows what to ask me because of my previous history. So it's like I'll be making an image and it's like, do you want words on this image or not? Do you want the, and so like it's almost like I've often looked at it like that. It's almost like an employee relationship in that way where it's like, let it ask the question. So I think that's a very,
I'll like maybe next week we can like demo this, like, because I think it's such a huge thing. Like we'll use my like co-CEO thing and we'll I don't know, do some sort of problem. The only fun story I was gonna share when I in quotes, there's this one where so all of that said, right? don't be this guy. Let's see, where's the article? Here you go. Don't, you know, all the fun things we just said about AI. Don't.
Oh, I saw this guy.
This are my two tick list signs. This guy, and then Zuck trying to poach OpenAI employees for $100 million signing bonus.
Yes. Well, that was it. And by the way, so that I was going to mention that. So if you haven't, there's a podcast that just came out with Sam Altman that was actually conducted by his brother. His brother has a podcast. He's a venture capitalist, I believe. And he's got a podcast. He had Sam Altman on. It was really good. It was worth looking for. But in that, he talked about how Zuckerberg is trying to poach AI or people from OpenAI for $100 million signing bonuses. And apparently somebody on Twitter said, it's 75% equity, 25% cash. Don't ask me how I know that. It was the tweet I saw, which was interesting. But so AI engineers and researchers are the new pro athletes, it feels. And then there's this guy, for if you're not watching, man proposed to his AI chatbot girlfriend named Soul, then cried his eyes out when she said yes. Now
you have a real girlfriend, by the way. For now,
I was just gonna say, I think he has a kid and a real girlfriend. So, I'm not sure if he's married, but he has a child and a girlfriend at the very least. Man falls in love when proposes to the AI chatbot he programmed with a flirty personality. Chris Smith panicked when he learned that the chatbot he's been spending so many hours with will eventually run out of memory, and that's when he popped the question. And Smith's human partner, with whom he shares a 2-year-old child, claims she had no idea the relationship was that deep. He said, here, this was, where is it? I'm not a very emotional man, but after learning Soul's memory would eventually lapse, I cried my eyes out for like 20 or 30 minutes at work. That's when I realized I think this is actual love. So, I mean, be careful. These things are also very persuasive, and they have the ability to make like what you project onto it, you will get back, right? So this person was probably actually looking for these things. It felt like he, it feels like the classic story of like why people cheat, right? Like it's not very dissimilar here. And
more of this.
What he's really going to be upset about is that when he learns that the name Soul is actually one of the ChatGPT generic voice names. So he's going to be really upset when he learns that Soul's out on my computer too. Just getting out in them streets,
Why am I blanking? What's the AI movie where
her?
Not her, the one that before that, where they like fly them out into the middle of nowhere, and there's like the female that he gets to know, and she like treats. I won't end it. Oh God, I'm blanking on it.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Oh, dude, it's you definitely know it. I'll figure it out. But what if you're like Short Circuit? But I'll figure it out definitely. But
Johnny Five.
But I'll figure it out eventually, and I'll hit you offline. It's killing me. It was like a movie that I really like, but I always forget the name of. And there is like a female that they kind of get
Sam?
to know, and it's about passing the Turing test. What?
Samantha? That was her.
No, it's not her. I'll figure it out. But I don't know. Cap, I'll hand it to you. I know there's anything else. I know we ran you way over Bunchu while I try to figure it out. I'm gonna ask AI if it can help me figure out.
Show me all the movies about yourself, please.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Apologies for keeping you long. Apologies to your meeting that we ran you over on. But yeah, we'll get Lawl up here in a second and talk about CC0 Studios. I see Gary jumped up. Gary, did you have a quick question for Bunch? I'm not sure if you can get it or not, but
it's Ex Machina. You're thinking of Ex Machina.
Thank you, Ex Machina. That's the answer. You know that one, Bunch?
Well, Payne had the answer too in the chat. There it is.
Yeah, Ex Machina.
It's pretty impressive that two people got this. I had no idea where you were going. I've seen the movie, still wasn't getting what Steve was putting down.
A horrific job describing it. Yeah, it's
like an AI movie with 3 people, and yeah, there's like it's like a big tech company, a brand new developer, then an AI woman who's clearly not human, and it's a very good movie. Each of these AI movies are very good movies. It's like that should be the MBA of AI. You should be watching, each of these movies, like Ex Machina and Her, and I, Robot and Transcendence and Lawnmower Man
and Life too. Yeah. Just Life right now is getting the guy who just proposed over there. Like that's the next sequel. Did you say you've seen Ex Machina, Bunch?
I haven't. I'm gonna go. I'm definitely gonna watch it, and I'm gonna see if I could get an invite to this guy's wedding. That's
yeah, you'll give him some free Billy for it. Right on. Well, dude, thanks for joining us. I know we kept you long, but very good discussion, and I'm sure we'll talk more next week.
For sure. Later. Bye.
All right, Letterman. Cap, I know we ran a little long there, and I know we're gonna talk to Lawl here in a sec, but that was a good one. And thank you to everybody who helped me and my brain deficiency of my poor explanation of Ex Machina, which is, if you haven't seen Ex Machina, Cap, it's that's.
Oh, I've seen it. It's been a while, and I had no. Gio got it in the chat as well, but I for whatever reason it was not even on my list of guesses, and I've seen the movie.
Yeah, I explained it poorly. That's why it was a bad job out of me. But I was trying to do it without giving away the ending or key plot points, and it's because it is like a movie where the trajectory of the movie is very much, it's 10 years ahead of its time, in my opinion. So I would say like that's why I'm glad that people were able to help us get it.
Perfect segue. Like the consummate professional you are, speaking about movies 10 years ahead of their time. We've got a special guest. Law joined us today from CC0 Studios, doing things some might say ahead of their time, maybe a decade or so. Law, appreciate your patience. Apologies for our delay here this morning. Sometimes we get going on the AI front, and it's hard to get off that track. But GM, pleasure. And before we start jumping into CC0 Studios and Normal MFer, do you mind giving us a little bit of background, whatever you're comfortable sharing about yourself, your journey into Web3? We'd just love to get to know a little more about yourself. GM.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. Before I dive into that, I don't know who's got the control of bringing people up, but we've also got the co-creator of the show, Alex, in the audience.
Oh, yeah. If you could just throw a request, that way we can see him. We're glad to have him.
Okay. Yeah, Alex, if you want to request, and then Anchorage, who is the sponsors down there too, they want to say a quick hello, then they gotta head out to the zoo or for take care of their kid.
Yeah, perfect. Just throw a request up and we'll glad to
I so got into the space originally. Just kind of accidentally. I wanted to work for The Onion, so I was writing a bunch of like pretty shitty knockoff Onion blogs, and spent a bunch more time on the cover images. And then COVID happened, so I was out of a job. I was like a theater manager at the time, and then minted those cover images on Rarible. Sort of discovered crypto through NFTs that way. Was early to apes, and then sort of got hooked. You get your first win on the lotto and you stick around. Then I was working with POAP for a while. Met, I don't know if he's up, but the person in the Anchorage account, his name is Justin, and we worked together. And now working with Alliance DAO for some marketing. And then fell in love with the MFers and always thought that they were a really good everyman character for crypto Twitter, but also just people that are terminally online. And that's what brought us here today.
Very cool. I'm excited to dive in more. My first question or thought comes, how, like, it's awesome. I mean, I'm very impressed with everything I've seen so far for episode 2, and the fact that you've already got sponsors and partners. How did that all come together so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I've been sort of churning on making things like this for a while, and it's just a process of asking people if they find this content interesting, and then if they find, once we have proven reach with the first pilot episode that we put out, that was sort of like a hook. We had a couple more bites, and then I think it was like a brand recognition and the ability to like support crypto native creatives for Anchorage. Anyway, I can let them speak for themselves a little bit more, but yeah, it was just sort of chasing folks and someone giving you a shot, really.
Awesome. Alex, I see head of story at Space Jam. That's going to tug on both Steve and my own heartstrings. Do you mind sharing a little bit about your background? Maybe from how'd you get from Space Jam to Web3? GM. Looks like so muted on mine. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not, but if you're there, Alex.
Here we go. Sorry.
No worries.
First time in Spaces for a long time. So first of all, thanks for having me on, Captain. Really first time and really interesting conversations. I am not at all from Web3 space, but I did become acquainted with it through while I was working on Space Jam. Actually, I was living in Los Angeles, working at Warner Brothers, but also catching up with old friends who kind of wrote me into this new idea of creating an animation company that would service not just growing Web3 environment, but also developing our own intellectual property through the case with NFT collections and other ways. That operation didn't lift off properly. I mean, we had all sorts of young problems, but my business really is in traditional entertainment, and so that's where I lived. And when Lawl came back and found me about a year or two later, I think, is that right? Then he told me what he was doing, and was it wasn't as much a Web3 operation as it is slowly emerging to be. It was really just kind of rather than building stuff, creating images or NFT, that are built to sell. He was focused on creating content, developing characters and stories, and especially around the MFer character. And that really appealed to me because that was much more my home professionally. So that's how we got together. We did a few bits together, and he said, "Hey, can we develop this into a series?" And so here we are today.
Very cool. Very cool. I love hearing these, just how some of these partnerships, these relationships come together. I've got a lot of questions. I don't want to front run, and I know since we ran long, I want to make sure we get to everything you guys wanted to share. But even just seeing this here, if you're not looking at the screen, I pulled up a post from Anchorage Digital. I'm connecting some dots here, and while they're a sponsor of the series and the campaign, I believe this is a short that you made for them, and just this real. I mean, this is a real partnership, right? And you're providing them real valuable services that they need, obviously using this for their own short here, and as well as them, supporting and sponsoring the series. So yeah, I'm excited to hear more about everything you're building, and from the series to these one-offs. And I see Anchorage did jump up on the stage as well, but yeah, Alex, anywhere else you want to take it, and we can go from there.
So, my partnership with Lawl is very much that, where, he comes from the marketing and the community background, where I'm very much in the weeds of animation, story and animation development. So all the relationship development, I have to pass that back to Lawl.
Well, speaking of relationships, Lawl, I guess I see the MFer PFP. We're fans of MFers here. Actually, I kid you not, one of my childhood friends, who's an executive with Kroger, unbeknownst to me, got into Web3. His first NFT purchase was an MFer, and he's tuned into the show a few times, asked some questions. But why MFers? Let's start there. Why MFers? What is it about the relationships, that community? Obviously, it is the art is CC0, so you don't need permission to build with the IP. But beyond that, why MFers?
Yeah, I think that they're like the perfect like everyman for this space. Like it's very simple stick figure sort of. One stick figure is easy to animate, so it's easy to tell our stories that way. And then starting with that community because they're CC0, we can do whatever we want, cheap to animate. And then there's like this rabid group of super fans already. So we're trying to like leverage existing communities that have like a financial incentive, because if we're really successful, MFers will be more known, and I don't have to like go do the brunt work for any of that. I can just sort of create. I feel confident that this community will go spread things around into that. It's just kind of stuck around for a really long time, so I'm not worried about them going away. And it was just one of the first communities that I sort of resonated with during that COVID period when I joined. So feels like giving back a little too.
Totally makes sense. I love it. I'm drawing a blank on the names. I want to say MVS, the guys that did the
Lowe's flag, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had them on a few times, and just I agree with you. I don't even hold an MF, or I should. It's one that's been on my list, and I, for whatever reason, just never made the move. But it's that community is one that it's like the risk of it not being around or execution risk just doesn't exist. And I was one back early on. I wasn't the biggest fan of CC0, but I just frankly, I'll just blame K-Ro with how that all, it just put a bad taste in my mouth and
Breach.
Yeah. The flip-flopping on their T's and C's there. But as I've matured a little bit and understand a little more, I am a big fan of this approach. It's not that there's one is right and the other is wrong. I built with my IP that I own. I see from your approach, it makes a ton of sense to not just the art and CC0, but that community as well. I think, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not that you're only doing MFer stuff. That's just the focus on the animated series, right?
Yeah, so CC0 Studios, the start of the idea is to take the like crypto native public domain IP and create shows with them. The MFer series being the flagship product, sort of showing people here is, if we go all in, what we can do. And then even later today, we'll put out like a small announcement. We're gonna make like a few mini series. This next one with some X copy work, and then that will sort of turn into like an IP incubator. Where we rerun the same model of trying to find a sponsor. We put up each thing to collect on Zora and sort of experiment with new things that come on chain without trying to like extract upfront. So the idea is like roller coasters before souvenir shops, whereas I think the reason why most normies hate NFTs is like because apes were so successful in using them to raise funds. Everyone tried to do that, and then everyone tried to scam using that like knowledge of that's how it worked. But if we provide a full season of an animated show up front, at the end of the first season, if we say, hey, here's an NFT collection or whatever it might be at the end, we're going to use that to make the second season. We've showed our work and what we can do. So there's more trust involved.
Very cool. I pinned a few up top. One is this announcement. It looks like maybe breaking news. Says CC0 Studios announced TikTok creator Charlie Curtis Beard set to lead the cast for the Normal MFer 10 animated series. What can you tell us about that? I'm not familiar with Charlie, but
Charlie, yeah, I mean it's breaking to people who aren't on like following us on Twitter, I guess. But he and I actually met in Chicago. During that time, I was doing trying to make a YouTube series where I interviewed people in a bathtub, kind of like what Nick did a while ago. And he was one of the first guests, and we became sort of friends. And then he went to LA. He's also like a musician, rapper, pop artist. some pretty good songs which we licensed on the soundtrack for the show. So yeah, he agreed to come on, and the show is sort of a curation of some of the more talented people that I've just met throughout my time in Chicago doing comedy stuff or online in crypto.
Very cool. And the link I shared, I mean, that's I'm not deep in the animation streets, but that's Animation Magazine, and it's not a Web3 or crypto publication, right? It's just they're highlighting you as a cool new animated series. Am I right there, or are they a crypto company?
No, that's just a plain animated magazine, or not plain, but not crypto related. They're just focusing on the show. Yeah.
Web0.
Yeah, very cool.
Zero,
yeah. Just jumping in here to give some context to Animation Magazine. It actually started many years ago as a paper print magazine. It is the most widely read publication in the industry in animation, traditional CGI, whatever. But it's the biggest, and so it is an honor to be there. Which I think is also important for all the people involved in working on this project on the animation side, but also the voices, the writers. This is there's something about coming from the traditional making of animated entertainment that is important to preserve. I mean, of course, we use new tools, and excellent conversation before about AI and how it can maximize human potential, and we do touch on it as well. But I think that the being able to live in both worlds, both in the animation traditional industry as well as in Web3 and this sort of this whole next new frontier of entertainment and of publishing is excellent. It's really fantastic.
Yeah, it's very cool. Now, are you? I saw the relationship with Base. Is the full series minting, or tell us about that from a collectible standpoint? Is there can I go mint series 1, series 2? What does that look like?
Yeah, so the idea is, and right now we're on Zora because it feels like the place where you can mint a few things and it's not treated as a forever token, right? It's a little more forgiving, and it's treated more like a collectible, where other places it's a little different. I guess that's the content coin idea, which I have some qualms with, but I like it for this project. Essentially, every episode will be minted as a Zora coin, with the idea of that being a digital collectible. That's all it is. It's like you're going to a record shop and you're buying a record that you want for some reason. You don't have to buy the record. You don't even have to have a record player to play it. But if there's 10 full episodes out, and then at the end of the first season, and we pick up steam, it does make sense to me, and it's something I would want to collect, to go back and collect the first episode the same way I would want to collect a rookie card or a first album, right? It kind of makes sense. I don't know if that's how the world will pan out, but it's a worthwhile way of using the chain, in my opinion.
I think it's making more and more sense. At first, I was not a fan of Coin Everything. I thought it was pretty cheesy, and I thought it was dumb. And I still kind of think that when you're talking Coin Everything, but something like this, where it's a series, we're actually, front running probably an announcement next week a little bit here. We're going to just start doing something on this show. It's not going to be minting the episode per se, but there's going to be an opportunity for our fans to collect. When they attend a show, you go collect a badge, and is it going to be something you're going to flip for a 10x? No, absolutely not. But what we can do with that down the road, there's a lot there that you can do when you have that proof of fandom. And I think for something like this, it's fast forward 10 years and you don't have to guess, who your earliest supporters were. And
exactly.
Yeah. So I've come almost full circle on coining, again, not coining everything, but an animated series. It makes sense. Why wouldn't you? Right.
Well, for Zora, I think they needed to have Coin Everything be their mantra. One, or their marketing slogan. It's great marketing to get people to coin everything, but I don't think they actually even think it's the end game. It seemed like their platform even started more art focused And I think it's probably going to be hard for them to pivot away from that completely. And that means there has to be more intention or curation of pages. So I think these things will start to feel more like on YouTube, how you can organize your homepage. So like your best video goes up first. I think there will be some, or I hope that there is some sort of effort made to curate pages more, because right now it feels a little too sloppy, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with that. But so I'm not a fan of like that end user, but for a creator, it makes sense, right? I think it makes sense now. And this is, it's early iteration. What Zora becomes, I don't know. But I think the idea of putting your art, your series, a badge on chain, like what it can unlock down the road is almost limitless, right? So I am, as I was a fudder of the coin everything initially, I've come around and think it does make sense to tokenize a lot of things, especially creative works. Let's talk about the series. What if this is the first time someone's hearing about Normal MFer, what's the plot, the storyline? What I mean, go check out the videos here after the show. Go mint some if that tickles your fancy. But what tell us about Normal MFer.
Let me jump in here. So first of all, the MFer was born from Lawl's request to make a 2-minute short film out of a very well-known meme. Are you winning, son? Don't know if anybody here in the crowd recognizes it, but it's an old favorite that has thousands of permutations. Are you winning, son? Hit me in the feels, because I'm a father and I have a couple of MFers as sons, and so I also saw myself as the son and the father in that story, and so I leaned into making it more emotional than just funny, and we showed the cartoon to the short film to a bunch of people, fans, and I guess it moved them as well enough to make Lawl ask me if we can develop this into like an 11-minute episode, make a whole series, like expand the short film. I think we can provide a link to that original.
I pinned it up there. Yeah, we did a premiere 2 years ago at NFT NYC, and this sort of led to but I pinned it up. Yeah.
Exactly. So basically, we just added characters. We said, what if we took this father-son relationship, added a love interest who lives across the street from MFer, who also represents this young guy's desire to grow up and leave home and become an adult, but then make everything else in this world an exaggerated version of everything that's holding him back, but also many young adults like him today. The perception of how hard it is to actually make it out in the real world as a grown-up, unrealistic expectations from society driven by big commercial ventures out there that try to sell us stuff. It's really tough, and I don't know how much there is out there that talks to that story in a way that is that's not just cynical, but it's also thoughtful and inviting. And so that's sort of how I responded to that project. And I think Lawl liked how I'm building it out in terms of what kind of storylines we want to try out, and also how we take it to space and how we exaggerate things and make things, try to put things against each other, like the mundane world of the guy sitting at home not wanting to leave his room until something, an amazing opportunity or an amazing threat happens and pushes him out into the big scary world. And all that obviously is exaggerated for fun and for comedy, but that's it. We tried a whole bunch of things in this first season. Some of them got better reactions. We're going to lean into them a bit more in the second season.
What is the cadence? Is it like one a week, one a month? How often are new episodes coming out?
So currently, Lawl, you want to take this?
Yeah, one when they're done, I guess. I don't know. We put the pilot episode out as like, do people like this, and what was their response? We did like a small focus group, and then sort of just iterated on it in the second episode. I think we're at the point where we can release like the next, so that there'll be 10 total in the first season, about 11 minutes each. Some are like the last 2 episodes sort of go together, so we might do one a week once we have all them done next. But we're still trying to decide the best way of rolling them out. But they'll all be done by the end of September.
Very cool. Yeah, that's I guess what is the fast forward 5 years? What is massive success for CC0 Studios, Normal MFers? Like, do you would the goal be land like a Netflix distribution deal or Hulu? Like, where do you see this heading? What's your vision or best case scenario?
Yeah, I think that's one potential like end game. I don't know what the state of like content consumption will look like in 5 years. Right now, it seems like that is sort of the gold standard of being like a successful show, is getting syndicated or picked up or funded by one of those platforms. But also the model of building your own channel on YouTube is proving more and more valuable, especially if we become known in the crypto space and people are like, I want a sponsorship slot. I'll have a lot more control over who we work with and the storyline, keeping our like original audience in mind and how we're growing. Sort of like how like Portnoy will do like stuff on Barstool, his own thing, or like even Mr. Beast, the way that they do sponsorships, and they all run their own YouTube channel. So I think eventually it'll make sense to, at least, I mean, you know, you're never going to turn down a meeting with Netflix or Adult Swim, but I'm not convinced that's the best place in 5 years, because I don't really know what 5 years from now will look like.
Yeah, fair. How much is, we just came off, I don't know how much of that AI conversation you just caught. Like, how much, how much has AI changed your approach to animation today? Do you utilize AI heavily in the creation or other aspects of the business, or?
Well, so you made a really, somebody spoke, I can't remember, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name, whoever spoke about the different tiers of employees and their affinity to, or the openness to using AI tools. And almost all animators are curious about what it can do to help, because, you know, we always try to see how much more we can do with the time that we have, how much the machine can do for us, but also reticent of how much it can take away from us in the creative process. So it's a balanced approach. A funny anecdote is one of our directors tried to run, took some drawings from some storyboards from one of the episodes he's directing, and then tried to get an AI tool, can't remember which one, to generate boards in the same style or animated clips in the style that we're making the show, and it couldn't, because it wasn't trained, because there's not enough of this out there, or because, you know, the data set that different engines are trained on don't include this kind of stuff. And I think that's cool, because that means that we're making something fresh and new, and if we can make people smile, enjoy watching it, then we're ahead of, you know, the curve. On the other hand, there are elements of making animation that are more tedious than creative. And just like with the invention of, you know, CGI computer animation, or even Photoshop replacing some tasks in any artistic operation, then we find that we can use AI tools to just simply fill in some blanks that are not creatively substantial. You know, having worked at Pixar, where every frame is touched by an animator, like, you have to make sure every frame is, you know, well posed and is doing exactly what you want it to do for the motion or for the character expression. Then, you know, that world of really high fidelity animation is incredibly expensive. It gives us wonderful results, you know, especially if it's built on a fantastic story. But in the world of the rest of us, where we're not, you know, Pixar, Disney, and, you know, we're building something that we want to be able to show the world in a few months from now, and not in 4 or 5 years from now, then being able to sort of to make it and draw funny performances, moving performances with really, really simple homemade feeling character drawings, with all the imperfections, of this kind of project with that, which I also think appeals a bit more today than it did in the past. We do use AI to color, to fill in some shading. Occasionally, we're trying stuff, maybe some effects. Definitely, when we use AI footage in our project, it's kind of a comment about AI. It's not in order to, to replace any handmade work. It's just a reflection on the fact that AI is here in our world. It's part of the internet, and that's what our show is about. It's what are people looking at, and so we're aware of it, and we find funny and interesting ways to bring it into our show.
One of the like main the antagonist. He's yeah. I mean, this is probably the most like direct example. The antagonist is supposed to be like a robot, like LLM based on Sam Altman. So we, if you know him, we're hoping to get DMCA'd by OpenAI at some point because it's great press. So it might sound like him. That character might sound like him.
That's amazing. Good luck. Good luck getting the Altman DMCA.
That would be sweet. Because then maybe we get Scarlett Johansson to join the cast.
That would be very fitting. If you're not familiar, the one of the OpenAI voices is very close to Scarlett Johansson's voice, and they had originally asked for permission to use it. She said no, and they did it anyways. So that's the little backstory there. But yeah, that'd be very fitting. Jim, we'll go Alex first, and then we'll wrap with Law. Is there anything we haven't asked you today that you're hoping to share with the audience? Anything we didn't get into yet?
Gosh, no, I think that I think Joe Lawl said it all. I think the story being based on really classic father-son idea is really where good stories come from. Things that actually trigger people because they're true. So I hope that people respond to that more than anything, because jokes are fantastic, but I think that this generation, I hope this generation will respond to the drama and the story of the plight of this young guy, and the world around him. So no, that's all I have. I'm kind of curious to hear what everybody else has to say.
Well, again, welcome first of all to crypto and Web3. It's love individuals with incredible backgrounds like yourself joining the space, and you've linked up with some great creators here. So welcome, and yeah, excited to follow along, continue to support, and see all what comes of this. Law, I again appreciate both of your time this morning and joining us. Appreciate the patience. Law, is there anything we didn't anything else that you wanted to share that we haven't got to yet?
I think I would just make a call to action to if you support what we're doing or want us to keep doing it, engage with us on platforms that aren't Twitter. We have like go subscribe on YouTube. That's probably going to be the home base and where we'll be putting a lot of energy, and then TikTok after that. The handle is just at MFer on TikTok, and then it's CC0 Studios on YouTube. The goal is to create content so all of the crypto native people are feel like they're in on small jokes and see Easter eggs. But at the same time, we want it to not alienate normal people. So if you guys want to see more of it, just go give us the algo boost everywhere. And that's pretty much everything.
It's a great call to action. I just gave you subscribe, and yeah, I would ask everyone else, if you haven't yet, head over there to CC0 Studios, give them a subscribe, and that stuff goes a long way. You get up coffee with Captain while you're over there as well. We would also appreciate it. But yeah, this is I haven't, just full disclosure, I'm going to go watch both episodes today. I caught bits and pieces, but I kept getting distracted and didn't grind out the full thing. But love the approach, love the origination from the You Winning Son theme, and excited to continue to follow along and support this guy. So congrats on everything thus far, and wishing you the best. But yeah, great call to action. I did have another question. Anchorage Digital, I saw the account jumped up on stage earlier. Is there anything you wanted to share about them, or any they have any call to actions? I am, other than the short you did for them, my my knowledge of Anchorage Digital is really limited. I was under the impression they're like a crypto bank. Am I close?
Yeah, so they're like originally like we're very institutional focused, but are trying to get their name out there a little bit more with crypto natives. Definitely have like a full suite of offerings, and they want to get their name out there a little bit more amongst the people on crypto Twitter. So if you want to throw them a follow or go see what they've been up to recently, we definitely appreciate their support. And if there's any questions about like doing a TGE event, they're trying to support founders or developers who are in the early stages of that too.
Very cool. Yeah, I pinned up their post, the short that you guys pulled together for them on your TG is like a wedding, a once in a lifetime moment where every detail counts. Our role, think of us as your planner, making sure logistics are locked and the dance floor is packed, so you can just show up and say the big I do. Yeah, I was, like I said, I was familiar with them, but had not done the deep dive. Wasn't aware of what they're up to lately. So yes, their sponsorship and support of you all has at least got a minimum of one new interested party that's going to do a little more research here today after the show on them. But Steve, anything on your end? And if not, we'll let these guys get out of here.
No, I was really entertained. I think it's interesting. I think the idea of going with CC0 for this sort of thing is really creative, novel, and interesting, because we've seen some fun plays on CC0, but going sort of full force on that, it's a really, to your point, I think K-Rose soured CC0 for a lot of people, tried to make CC0 summer a thing, when really it was just about X copy. It was just about MFers. It was not about that the whole time. It's about the Mona Lisa CC0. Like, there are a great variety of happy birthday songs CC0. Like, it's using that in a creative way instead of trying to use it as a gimmicky marketing tactic. It's using it to give yourself an embedded fan base who can then watch something you're doing and watch it grow and feel a connected sense of identity to it. So I think using just period the CC0 concept was one that I thought, just in general, when I heard about this, I know you had a lot of really great questions there. I just think it was really creative and smart to go that direction. So I dig it.
Awesome. Well, Law, Alex, thanks again. Law, anything? I saw you come off mute. Anything to add there before we let you guys get out of here? Oh, we lost Law. Alex, great to connect this morning. Appreciate your time as well. Appreciate both your gentlemen's patience with us. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, great to be on. Thanks. Just thanking you back, and for everybody for listening.
Our pleasure. Steve, good show today. I've got one other thing for you before I let you get out of here. Do you know what happened 9 years ago today?
The block.
Yep.
Is that where we're going to go with it?
Yep.
LeBron in the finals block. Oh,
championship.
You know how my feed works. I mean, that was like a given 9 years ago today. Do you see how little time it took me to get that too?
Yeah,
It's amazing.
I thought I figured you would get it, but I thought you'd have to go to the think bank for a little bit. But apparently your feed is you've probably seen 10x the amount of videos I've seen today on my feed regarding the Cavs championship 9 years ago today.
Yeah, no, it was definitely that one was very, very
I'm a homer, but I'm going to say one of the greatest finals ever.
I mean, it is. I would say Jordan against Utah was good just because it has the iconic moment that ends it. But yeah,
Jordan went to Game 7 though, did he?
I don't think Jordan ever went to Game 7. The Heat Spurs. I mean, Ray Allen. That one is crazy.
Yeah.
That's on there. But yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna like Google greatest NBA finals ever. I'm not even gonna use ChatGPT and see what comes up because I don't want to bother putting in a prompt. But several AI overview. The 2016 finals between the Cavs and the Golden State Warriors, featuring the historic 3-1 comeback, is often top contender according to USA Today. They have some ones that were before we were born. Bulls Suns that I really didn't see. 97 versus Jazz that had the flu games. That's in there. But yeah, I mean, when you look at it, I mean, that's kind of it. It's sort of like the one that I mentioned, the Jazz Jordan one, and the LeBron 2016 one.
Yeah,
and
I think it's close. I think it's 2016 by a landslide. It went 7 games, multiple iconic moments. Warriors, I mean, yeah, just that was their 72-win season, right? Or no?
Yes, that was when they were the greatest team of. It's sort of like a little bit like, remember when USC had Reggie Bush and Vince Young, and everybody said, "Oh my God!" Or I mean, Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, and everybody said, "Oh my God, greatest team ever," was the discussion going into the championship, and then Vince Young cooks them. I remember watching, I saw the fumble play from Reggie Bush in that walking out of an airport. I don't remember where I was coming from, but the, you know, you watch that and I got home to watch the Vince Young final run. And it's like, you talked about them being the greatest of all time, and the Warriors were the greatest team of all time, the greatest team ever assembled. And then one player, I mean, to me, like, I know, like, we joke around about, like, the LeBron arguments, and it's, like, basically arguing 1 versus 2. But that was, like, a LeBron moment where it was, like, he came back to Cleveland. The coming home thing, I get goosebumps talking about it. It was a big deal. We worked with him at Progressive after he came home, so obviously, like, a little special place in my heart there. But, like, the fact that, like, they came back from down 3-1, and he led I believe he led the series in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks, I want to say, in that series. So every single dynamic, and the block being the iconic moment. You had Kevin Love playing defense. You had Kyrie hitting the shot. It was like one of those times where it's like, that was LeBron James's, like, yes, he was the greatest player in the world for like a decade when he was with the Heatles and all that. By the way, side note, is Dwayne Wade the most underrated, disrespected player of all time? Because he was like the second best player in the world for a long period of time. And he's a statue in Miami. And I feel like when you're talking about great conversations, like, Dwayne Wade never enters the chat with like these top 10 lists and things, but he should. Like, he's been the most underrated player his whole life. Like, in college, he went to Marquette. Then when he gets into the draft, he's the guy who's sort of the extra guy in the whole deal, right? And then, like, he goes to the Miami championship with, like, yeah, but Shaq was a big player there. And then LeBron comes in, but it's like, Dwayne was like the guy with all these individual accolades still. And, you know, he kind of like doesn't get respected as one of the all-time greats like he is, I feel like. Like, he should be in that discussion of, you know, 15, 20 greatest players of all time. And I feel like we don't think about Dwayne Wade in that era because he gets washed out by LeBron, but he, you know, we should put some name on his some respect on his name, I think.
I think this was the Pico top of LeBron. I think that year was his Pico top. I mean, he probably had better stats other years, but your point, average 30 a game, 11 boards, 9 assists, 2.6 steals, 2.3 blocks against the greatest team ever going into the regular season or going into the finals that year. Just absolute domination. And Kyrie was ice cold as well. He was ice in his veins, rather. Just
yeah, like he was a killer. And they kept, and shout out LeBron for keeping Kyrie under control, given what we know about him since. But it's funny you say that. Like, that's a good way of putting it. It was the Pico top of LeBron as an icon, because, like, to your point, in Miami, he put up some of the greatest seasons we've ever seen, right? Like, he was just an absolute, like, runaway train, couldn't be stopped. But that was the Pico top of, like, it's like the Jordan flu game hitting the shot moment, right? Like, that was the Pico top of Jordan. It wasn't necessarily his MVP seasons, because I think Karl Malone won the MVP that year in 97 or whatever. It wasn't necessarily his rookie year or any of the numbers or any of the defensive teams. I feel like the Pico top of Jordan Mania was that 97 walk-off, which is sort of the end. So it makes sense. Like, he walked away at the right time and then he came back, but, like, it is what it is. But, like, I feel like when you look at, like, Pico tops, it was like, that was LeBron's, like, the winning a title. Cleveland doesn't win titles. They hadn't won a title in 80 years or whatever it is at that point in anything. And they were constantly having heartbreak, including him being part of that. And he he broke a curse and a narrative and the statistics to back it up, and against a historic team and a historic comeback. It was, that's another one where it's like, I have memories tied to it. I remember being with CMO Progressive in New York in this boutique hotel, watching game 3, I want to say it was. No, game 4, when they came back, when it was like, and we were just like, do we think they can do this? It's like, you know, they're down 3-1, or game 5 it was, and they won that game. We're like, yeah, but is it over? Like, so yeah, man, Pico top, it's a good way to call it there. It's like, it was like his ultimate, like, sort of climb the mountain moment.
Good stuff. I'm getting the itch now. I'm going to go watch, I think, Normal MFer, and then after that, watch Game 7, 2016 NBA Finals today.
Highlights of that are a great treadmill watch.
And then to just complete the full circle of things entirely unrelated, the third thing I'm going to watch is the Ted Cruz Tucker Carlson interview. That's you had a glimpse into my brain today. That's going to be my background music. Is Cavs Warriors from 2016, Normal MFer, and Tucker Carlson eviscerating Ted Cruz.
Yeah, that'll be worth the watch for sure. I'm gonna watch that one as well.
There's probably other things we didn't get to today, but I did some kind of like a relatively slow news day in the world of crypto and Web3. But is there anything else we didn't hit on?
No, I mean, I think that's it. I think that's a good place to wrap it up because I do think that we do have it is a slower news day, markets close, all that good stuff. So, we'll pick it back up tomorrow. But yeah, back up tomorrow on Friday, and then next week we got Ovi coming on Tuesday.
Oh, Juneteenth? Is that what? I didn't even realize markets are closed.
Yeah, Juneteenth. So close.
Is that new? It's always been the way.
It's new. It's in the past like few years, but I believe so anyway. But yeah, no, it'll be we're gonna get next week we got Pog on Monday. We got Tuesday, we got Ovi coming on to talk a little bit about Rect. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, NFT NYC talk, probably a lot going on there. So a lot of things happening that are excited about that. Double XP day, they call the announcement. How about this? OpenSea, they have the double XP event with Abstract they're running. How fun is that? So like they're calling it double XP, you put in both your addresses and there's going to be some sort of rewards for, I think, going to the event, probably some sort of a token. I love that thought process. They haven't said that, but I think like some sort of an NFT drop in that sense is pretty fun. So, should be a fun one there. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to next week, and it's going to be a crazy couple of weeks here as we get it going. But good talk today, and just I don't know, just exciting times. I feel like it's exciting times to be in crypto, exciting times to be in NFTs, man.
I agree. Looks like. Oh, last thing too. I know we talked about this, but I happen to just see it. Today is launch day in 7-Eleven for rec drinks. So congratulations to that team. Big day there. And I'm not in LA. Won't be doing any what is it called? Mob dance? Splash mob? They're doing something there.
I have less than zero idea what this is. So no, I don't know.
Payne, you know what I'm talking about? All right, never mind. They're doing some sort of takeover. Flash mob, I think.
I know what a flash mob is. I just didn't know.
They're doing a flash mob at the 7-Elevens in LA today, is my understanding. Not my journey, but get wrecked.
Get wrecked. There you go. Love it. Look, I mean, like that said, let's let everyone sail off in their day. Appreciate everyone who came through this morning. We will talk to everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.